Okay, a very good morning and a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed chief guests, distinguished speakers, panelists, and dear friends. Today, as a part of our 1 week, 1 lab program, we are honored to present our power-packed session on the theme of women empowerment, embrace equity. Words of wisdom from the Yog Vasisht say that the same consciousness that shines in the gigantic sun also dwells in the minuscule worm that crawls on this earth. The same energy drives both. Nature embraces equity in all its gestures and recognizes inherent equality in all forms of life. Nature, in its infinite wisdom, bestows its blessings upon all living beings in the form of Panchatatvas. The sunshine, water, and air sanctify all living forms equally, regardless of their role, size, or stature. Nature manages all its creations, small or big, by crafting their lives in such a way that they have a critical role in the overall ecosystem and its fulfilling as well. So, just like the most important inventions made in this world, the concept of equity is also nature-inspired. Often we mix equity and equality, which are closely related, as equity being the subset of equality. Sounds difficult, but could be as easy as someone quoted, equity is giving everyone a shoe, and equality is giving everyone a shoe that fits. So let's embrace our differences, transcend our prejudices, and promote fairness in our approach, shattering the glass ceilings that limits our collective potential to reach new heights. Finally, in this era of revival of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, let us remember that we all are human beings first before any genders and roles, and being mindful of the equal consciousness being bestowed to us upon by nature. That's, my dear audience, would help us in embracing equality and achieving the well-being of our global family. Thank you. With these few words, I request our Director, Sir, Dr. Atul Vaidya, to give a welcome speech. I request the dignitaries, please, to occupy the dais on the stage.
So still we are in good morning only, not good afternoon as expected. There was a delay in the first program because of certain circumstances. So anyway, welcome to this, actually the first program of CSIR-NEERI 1 week 1 lab program, and rightly so. It is about the women empowerment, embrace equity. And today, fortunately, there were 2 programs before this, and that time I was the odd man out speaking here. Rest all were women here. But today I find so not equality, but then there are few representatives from other domain. So rightly we are on the path. That was total inequality in earlier 2 programs. We are on path of equality. Anyway, it's a much talked about topic, women empowerment. It has been practiced. I repeat again 2-3 things which I said in earlier programs also, that although there are certain differences, but then in Indian context, women empowerment is much better as compared to, if you don't see the present, see the past. It took longer time for other democracies to give right of vote to women after thousands of years of democracy. Whereas in our constitution, we got it right from the day one. And our society more or less has been pro-women, although it was not women dominant, but it was not totally against the women. But yes, there were certain reasons attributed to many natural or history or so many things which led to the dominance of one particular gender over another. And those reasons no longer exist due to the advent of technology. And therefore, this is the era where most of the people will gender equity or gender bias will not be there, gender equality will be there. And we should talk of gender, equity is a very good term. There are many definitions as already told by Kavita. Equity is actually sharing whatever available, sharing equally is the equity, not the equality. Nature has, we have some inborn differences between women and men that is given by nature. And according to that, some course of natural processes are different for women and men. But it doesn't mean that one gender will dominate another gender because of those differences. Those differences are going to exist and they are required for the balance of the nature. But however, it should not be the reason for the inequality, and it should not be the reason for dominance of one gender over other. Maybe it is this way or that way. And therefore, equity is whatever is available with us, it should be shared equally with all individuals. If you talk philosophically, if you talk genetically, no two individuals are equal. No two, including men, women, everybody. No two individuals are equal. But yes, equity is required, and that is what we mean by women empowerment, drivers of women empowerment. And therefore, we have to see that not only equity, but the empowerment also is equally, because you cannot deny certain positions because XYZ is women or men. That is the reason why equity is required. Still in this era of say gender equity and all that, let us inspect ourselves. How many of you are comfortable when there is a lady pilot in your flight? How many of you are comfortable? If you are not comfortable, that means you are just talking here. How many of you will be comfortable if Indian Army gets a lady general or lady staff of chief of the staff? Some hands are not raised. Now they are raised. See, what I am saying is that it comes from here, and we must believe the capabilities of both the genders. It is not that this is better or that is better. I have seen people are a bit reluctant when there is a lady pilot. You are happy when she is co-pilot. But if she is a male pilot and there is a male co-pilot, you are not happy. Rather, you are scared. मालूम नहीं ठीक से चलाना आता है नहीं आता है. I have seen these comments. No सीखिया होगा, ऐसा वैसा होगा, जो भी, whatever it is. So, unless that goes off from your mind, how many, now fortunately NEERI, CSR has many lady directors and even director general is lady. How many of you will be comfortable if NEERI is having a lady director? Raise your hands. All. Good. So I don't know whether it is just for this show or by heart. So, because you are tuned to certain circumstances, tuned to certain practices, getting those things out of your mind is equity. Not by, see, I am forced to say, I have to make, tomorrow if there is a regulation, as a director I have to make 50% of the staff, 50% of the divisions HODs as women. I will have to. It should come from heart, not by regulation. That is what we mean by equity. Equity should come by practice, equity should come in thoughts, and that is why such programs are needed, because still we are into the era, we are practicing a lot of things but still not from heart. It should go off your mind. And there are two examples sitting here and they will be talking about that. They are none less than any counterpart in another gender. Rather, sometimes they have done much more than what others would have done. So you'll be listening to them. I am here just because as I am director I have to say everything, and on every subject I have to speak. But these are my thoughts. Thank you very much for listening, and let us listen to a very good session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your very kind words. So we are really blessed that we have mentors who actually live women empowerment and are above all the biases that exists. So in continuation to this, I request our director, sir, to please welcome our two speakers with a plant sapling. We have amongst us today two very powerful speakers. One is Mrs. Bimla Deoskar, and second is our own Dr. Sadhana Railu, who will tell us about their journeys throughout. I request Dr. Debishri Khan to introduce the speakers to you all, please.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all. So I take the privilege to introduce our speakers today. Climb mountains, not so the world can see you, but so you can see the world. Todd Skinner said that we must elevate ourselves because we cannot lower the mountain. A person of this caliber who has elevated herself to the heights of success in the field of mountaineering and a role model to many of us and all the explorers is present with us. I find it exciting and amazing to introduce our chief guest, Mrs. Vimla Negi Deoskar, who is at present director at National Adventure Foundation Nagpur chapter. She is a well-known adventure sportswoman in India, having conquered some of the highest peaks in the world, achieving some of the most daring feats and inspiring us all. So we have a video which showcases her adventurous journey. So I would like to request to play it.
उन्होंने क्या किया इसलिए तो मैं मेरा सिस्टम लगा था वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है वहाँ से वो आपके वहाँ सिस्टम से
वॉल्यूम ज़्यादा करिए ना नीचे वाला वॉल्यूम ज़्यादा करो नीचे यहाँ जो दिख रहा है यहाँ Okay, listen. Madam, shall we take the other one first? This is just introduction.
पेन ड्राइव
फिल्म भी है ना उसके बाद।
आप बोलने वाले साथ
हाँ हाँ
फिर कैसे
क्यों नहीं हुआ ये कि मैं खुद ही बोल लेती हूँ ये देखा है।
टेस्ट का मतलब है
मैं बोल ही देती हूँ
आपका इसमें नहीं ले सकते हैं हम पेन ड्राइव में हाँ डेटा और इसमें प्रेजेंटेशन
प्रेजेंटेशन भी है
नहीं प्रेजेंटेशन अलग है ना मैम, ये
हाँ,
नहीं है ना
हाँ,
प्रेजेंटेशन,
ये नहीं,
बेसिक
इसी में
बायोडाटा है ना,
हाँ, हाँ।
उसके बाद आपका प्रेजेंटेशन
हाँ, हाँ।
अलग से है, तो प्रेजेंटेशन हम आपका ले लेते हैं, आपका बायोडाटा रेड कर देते हैं,
स्पीकर सिलेक्ट करवा
ठीक है, फिर आप अपना प्रेजेंटेशन दे दीजिएगा, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट रनिंग।
We are just trying to work out the technical glitches. Please hold on.
ठीक है, छोड़ दीजिए।
हेडफोन्स पे डाल दो।
अभी पहले साधना का ले लेते हैं ना इंटरव्यू टॉपिक नो
इंट्रोड्यूस किया हुआ है। ठीक है, तो मैं नहीं मैम, मैं पढ़ देती हूँ, हाँ मैं पढ़ देती हूँ, it's okay. So we faced a technical glitch over here. So I'll read out. So I took the pleasure to read out her whole biodata. So her achievements made her the recipient of first National Adventure Award, Government of India's highest national award for excellence in the field of adventure sports in 1994. Her adventurous mountaineering career includes many expeditions since 1993. She has also climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa, in 2016. She has also been the lead summiteer in several expeditions. She also scaled Mount Everest and Mount Argan Kangri in 2003, which was the first successful attempt to an unclimbed peak, and that too by an all-women's team. In June 2011, Mrs. Vimla completed the 400-kilometer long snowman trek in Lunana Valley, Bhutan, one of the most challenging hikes in the world. She also took part in the Go Green Girls Cycle Rally, which covered 3,000 kilometers from Kolkata to Kanyakumari. One of her most recent and inspirational accomplishment is the Fit at 50, Women's Trans-Himalayan Expedition, which is a 4-month trek from the Pangasao Pass in Arunachal Pradesh to the Kargil War Memorial in Ladakh. All of the participants in this pioneering and unique trip were women of age 52 to 68 years. This proves that age is just a number, what you need is the right attitude. Mrs. Vimla, besides being the founder and the Joint Secretary of Women Adventure Network of India, that is WANI, is also member of many organizations and foundations of field of adventure and mountaineering. By achieving these heights in the adventurous sports, which are normally dominated by a specific group of society, Mrs. Vimla surpassed all odds and touched the sky and is a true inspiration to all of us. We honor your courage, ma'am. Now, I would like to request our respected ma'am, Mrs. Deoskar, to continue our event by sharing some words with us. I welcome you, ma'am.
वो भी नहीं शुरू हुआ ना, दूसरा भी शुरू नहीं हुआ ना। सॉरी, बायोडाटा का वो शुरू नहीं हुआ। सबसे पहले मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ नीरी परिवार को, जिन्होंने मुझे यह प्लेटफॉर्म दिया बात करने के लिए, और फाउंडेशन डे की शुभकामनाएं, बधाइयाँ। वुमेन्स एम्पावरमेंट का जो हम लोग सालों से ये महिला दिन मनाते हुए आ रहे हैं, यूनाइटेड स्टेट एक अलग स्लोगन दे के हम लोगों को उसमें हम मंथन होता है, डिस्कशन होते हैं, कुछ सॉल्यूशन निकालते हैं, कुछ रास्ते खोजते हैं, और ये बड़ा अच्छा एक इवेंट है जो हम लोग हर साल मनाते आए हैं। मेरा फील्ड थोड़ा अलग से फील्ड है, मेरा फील्ड माउंटेनियरिंग का फील्ड है। आज हम सारे साइंटिस्ट लोगों के बीच में बैठी हूँ, मैं किताबी ज्ञान से थोड़ा दूर हूँ, पर जो भी बोलूँगी अपने एक्सपीरियंस के आधार पे बोलूँगी। लेकिन आप लोग जो साइंटिस्ट लोग हैं, मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है कि आप सेवा भी कर रहे हैं, आप सर्विस भी दे रहे हैं और देश सेवा भी कर रहे हैं। आपका सेवा भी है और समाज सेवा भी है, तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है आप लोग ने जो अपना प्रोफेशन चुना है। करीब 35-40 सालों से मैं इस फील्ड में काम कर रही हूँ। रहने वाली पहाड़ की हूँ, लेकिन शादी करके नागपुर आ गई थी, और माउंटेनियरिंग मेरी हॉबी भी है, प्रोफेशन भी है। बीइंग ए माउंटेनियर, बचपन से ही ये चीज़ें हम लोग सीख के आए हैं, बहुत छोटेपन से हम लोग ने सीखा। बहुत लंबा समय नहीं लूँगी क्योंकि मेरे पास समय बहुत कम है। 35 साल का एक्सपीरियंस मुझे 15 मिनट में बोलना है, और इतनी चीज़ें हैं ना बोलने के लिए। सच्ची मैं कहती हूँ कि हर एक्सपीडिशन में, हर इवेंट जो हम लोग करते हैं उसमें एक नई चीज़ हम सीख के आते हैं, नया चीज़ समझ में आता है। तो सबसे पहले जब 1953 में माउंट एवरेस्ट समिट हुआ, तब उसमें जब लोग माउंटेनियरिंग के लिए जाते हैं, आप जस्ट कल्पना कीजिए, तब लोग दार्जिलिंग से पैदल जाते थे और बेस कैंप पहुंचने में, मतलब 18,000 पहुंचने में 2 महीने लग जाते थे। और उस 2 महीने में जो लोग लोड लेके जाते थे उसमें महिलाएं भी होती थी, और वो महिलाएं किसी के सपनों को पूरा करने के लिए काम करती थी। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर उस समय भी हम महिलाओं को चांस दिया जाता तो वो भी अपना योगदान देते और एक नया इतिहास रचते, लेकिन हमको अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ बहुत कम मिली है। मैं हमेशा जहाँ पे भी जाती हूँ मैं इस चीज़ पे जोर देती हूँ, जिद करके बोलती हूँ कि हम लोगों को केवल एक ही चीज़ आप करिए कि चांस दीजिए। देखिए ना करते कि नहीं करते, खराबी होगा, फेल ही होंगे, मौका दीजिए बस। और जहाँ मौका मिला वहाँ हमारी महिलाओं ने अपना परचम लहराया, अपना झंडे गाड़े। इंडिया में माउंटेनियरिंग के बाद की मैं बात करती हूँ कि 1984 में माउंट एवरेस्ट के लिए सोचा गया कि चलो अब महिलाओं को एक मौका दिया जाए। मिस बचेंद्री पाल, इंडिया की पहली महिला, वर्ल्ड की 5th नंबर पे, उनको जब मौका मिला तो वो पहाड़ चढ़ के आई, एक रिकॉर्ड बनाया और इतिहास में अमर हो गई। उनको देखा देखी हमारे इंडिया में बहुत लोग माउंटेनियरिंग फील्ड में उतरे। मेरा फील्ड बड़ा रिस्की फील्ड है, बड़ा कॉस्टली फील्ड है। लोअर मिडिल क्लास फैमिली के लोग तो अफोर्ड कर ही नहीं सकते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी कहीं ना कहीं लोग लगे रहे। बचेंद्री दीदी को आइकॉन मान के, उनको एक इंस्पिरेशन उनसे लेके हमारे इस फील्ड में बहुत सारी महिलाओं ने अपना योगदान दिया और आगे आए। और करते करते 93 में जब ये बात हुई कि अब ऑल वुमेन एवरेस्ट एक्सपीडिशन भेजना चाहिए, तो लड़कियों का एक टीम गई जिसमें बचेंद्री दीदी लीडर थी, मैंने भी उसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया। हम लोगों ने 7 वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड बनाए। तो हम कहाँ छोटे। जब माउंटेन में जब हम किसी पर्वत पे चढ़ते हैं, जब एवरेस्ट की चोटी पे जब हमारी महिलाएं चढ़ती हैं, तो फिर एवरेस्ट ये नहीं बोलता कि बाइक आया थोड़ा सा खाली हो जाते हो, नहीं, कभी नहीं हो सकता ये चीज़ें। तो फिर हम कहाँ छोटे, हम कहाँ कमज़ोर, हम कहाँ वीक, हम कहाँ हमारा विल पावर कम है। हमारा विल पावर बहुत स्ट्रांग होता है। बस एक ही चीज़ है, अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलनी चाहिए। और बहुत लोगों की सोच ये भी रहती है अरे पहाड़ी लोग हैं, इनके लिए ईजी रहता होगा। ऐसे ईजी वगैरह नहीं रहता है। लेकिन मैं कहूँगी कि हमारे फील्ड में अगर माउंटेनियरिंग की बात करें, एवरेस्ट की बात करें, तो वर्ल्ड में इंडिया पहले नंबर पे है, जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा लड़कियों ने माउंट एवरेस्ट समिट कर रखा है। एक छोटी सी लड़की का वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड है तेलंगाना से, पूर्णा मालावत, 13 साल 11 महीने की लड़की ने माउंट एवरेस्ट समिट किया। अब सोचिए 13 साल 11 महीने क्या होता है, जहाँ ऑक्सीजन सी लेवल से बेस में ही आप पहुँच जाते हैं तो हाफ हो जाता है, तो चोटी में पहुँचने में तो कितना होता होगा। तो उसका वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड है। एक विकलांग लड़की लखनऊ से है, अरुणिमा सिन्हा, आप एक पैर से उसका हैंडीकैप विकलांग कह सकते हैं, वो है। अंशु करके एक लड़की है अरुणाचल से, 2 बच्चों की माँ है। उसने 3 साल में 5 बार एवरेस्ट समिट किया, 12 दिन के अंदर में 2 बार माउंट एवरेस्ट समिट कर दिया। तो ऐसे बहुत सारे रिकॉर्ड हमारे नाम पे हैं। तो जो इतना टफ फील्ड है हमारा, उस फील्ड में भी अगर हमारा परफॉर्मेंस इतना अच्छा रहता है तो फिर हम कहाँ कम हैं बताइए। हाँ, कहाँ कमज़ोर हैं। हमारा विल पावर बहुत स्ट्रांग होता है, बस चांस देने की बात है। मैं थोड़ा सा इतने सारे एक्सपीडिशन मैंने किए हैं, लीड किए हैं, नेशनल टीम मैंने लीड किया है बहुत टाइम। और मेरा अब स्लाइड नहीं चल रहा, नहीं तो मैं बहुत अच्छी आपको दिखाते। हाँ, तो मेरा पूरा शुरू का दिखा दो, फिर मैं बात करूँगी। तो थोड़ा सा 2 मिनट में आपका लूँगी।
हर पल जान की बाजी लेने गई नागपुर की पर्वतारोही विमला नेगी कुदरत के उस भयानक तांडव को करीब से देखकर आई।
फाउंडेशन के समिट में हिस्सा लेने गई नागपुर की मशहूर पर्वतारोही विमला नेगी ने प्रकृति के उस भयानक तांडव को नजदीक से देखा।
12 महिला पर्वतारोहियों की जाबाजी की कहानी सामने आई है। 12 किलोमीटर से ज्यादा की चढ़ाई कर चुके पर्वतारोहियों ने बर्फीले तूफान की तस्वीरें कैमरे ने कैद की है।
सब डर गए, मैडम क्या हुआ, मतलब पत्थर आ रहा है ऊपर से, सब लोग झुक जाओ। तो पता चला कि वो लड़का जहाँ खड़ा,
क्या हुआ, अब उसको बंद कर दीजिए, मैं शुरू करती हूँ। ये जो हम अब आपको दिखा रहे थे 13 की घटना है जब केदारनाथ की घटना घटी थी, और मैं नेशनल टीम लीड कर रही थी। 13 केदारनाथ की जो है हाइट वो 13-14 हज़ार के आसपास है, और मैं उस टाइम अपनी टीम को लेके 25
महिलाओं की जिंदगियां और कैसे इन्होंने खौफ के हर पल को जिया। ये तस्वीरें उसी उत्तराखंड की हैं जहां सैलाब में न जाने कितनी जिंदगियां बह गई। पल भर में हजारों लोगों का आशियाना छिप गया। जिस समय कुदरत पहाड़ों के बीच बसे इन गांवों में तबाही मचा रही थी, ठीक उसके कुछ समय पहले 12 महिला पर्वतारोहियों का एक ऐसे भंवर से सामना हुआ जिसके बाद उन्होंने जीने की उम्मीद छोड़ दी थी। ये तस्वीरें उत्तराखंड की जमीन से 19,000 फीट की ऊंचाई पर भागीरथ 2 पर्वत पर ली गई हैं। इधर नीचे सैलाब अपना कहर बरपा रहा था, तो ऊपर बर्फबारी, और इतना बर्फ जिसका अंदाजा इन महिलाओं को नहीं था।
तूफान से पहले की तस्वीर।
ये एक्सपीडिशन जब मैंने लीड किया तो ये भागीरथी 2 पीक है गढ़वाल हिमालय में, और वहाँ से मुझे मौका मिला, दिल्ली से फ़ोन आया कि मैडम आपको लीड करना है, तो मैंने उस एक्सेप्ट किया। मैं एक चीज़ महिलाओं को बोलना चाहती हूँ कि मैं भी एक गृहिणी हूँ, घर संभालती हूँ, बच्चे हैं, सास ससुर है, सब है, लेकिन मुझे जब भी ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिली मैंने कभी नहीं छोड़ा, क्योंकि हम दोनों माउंटेनियर हैं, मैं और मेरे हस्बैंड। जब मैं माउंटेनियरिंग के लिए जाती हूँ, जब मुझे ऐसे अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलते हैं तो मैं घर का सारा व्यवस्था करके जाती हूँ, इवन राशन भर के जाती हूँ, बाइक का अरेंजमेंट करके जाती हूँ, बच्चों के पढ़ाई का ध्यान रखती हूँ, सब कुछ करती हूँ। इवन अपनी बाइक को बोल के जाती हूँ जिस दिन मैं आऊँगी उस दिन से तू छुट्टी मारना। आप जस्ट सोचिए, आप 1.5 महीना 2 महीना हम इतना हार्ड वर्क करते हैं, उसके बाद भी आके बताती हूँ तू छुट्टी ले लेना, लेकिन मेरे आने तक छुट्टी मत लेना। तो महिलाएँ इतना बड़ा काम करती हैं। और जाने के बाद इस एक्सपीडिशन में जब वैसे ऑलरेडी मैं क्लाइम कर चुकी थी शादी से पहले, तो मुझे ये लग रहा था नया पीक मिलता तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होता, लेकिन ठीक है, मैंने उनसे रिक्वेस्ट भी किया, तो हम दिल्ली के जो डायरेक्टर हैं उन्होंने कहा नहीं मैडम होगा तो यही होगा, अदरवाइज आप देख लीजिए। तो मैंने ये सोचा मैं नहीं तो कोई और तो करेगा ही करेगा, छोड़ेगा तो कोई नहीं, एक्सपीडिशन होने वाला है, तो मैंने उसको एक्सेप्ट किया एज ए लीडर। तब मैं पहले जब गई थी मेंबर गई थी, अब मैं एज ए लीडर गई। तो एक्सपीडिशन में जब आगे निकले तो टीम थी मेरे साथ, एक साइंटिस्ट को भी वाइल्ड इंस्टीट्यूट से भेजा गया था, इसलिए कि ग्लेशियर की रीडिंग करने के लिए। और वो ग्लेशियर रीडिंग ये कि मुझे बहुत कुछ ऐसा समझ में आता है ये सब चीज़ों का कि हमारे पूर्वजों ने हमारे लिए बहुत कुछ छोड़ा है, हम क्या छोड़ के जा रहे हैं पता नहीं। वो ग्लेशियर जो पिघल रहे हैं आज, गंगोत्री से आगे आप 18 किलोमीटर आगे चले जाए तो गंगोत्री ग्लेशियर पीछे जा रहा है, खत्म हो रहा है, भागीरथी नदी का जहाँ उद्गम होता है। आप जस्ट सोचिए, कल्पना कीजिए, जिस दिन वो ग्लेशियर खत्म हो जाएगा उस दिन वो भागीरथी नदी जो वहाँ से बहकर अलकनंदा तक आती है और उसके बाद गंगा के नाम से जानी जाती है और बंगाल की खाड़ी में गिरती है। आप जस्ट कल्पना कीजिए, अगर वो ग्लेशियर सूख गए तो उसके किनारे रहने वाले बस्तियों का क्या हाल होगा, वो बड़ी बड़ी फैक्ट्रियों कंपनियों का क्या हाल होगा जो वो नदी के पानी से सारा यूज करते हैं और आगे बढ़ते हैं। तो बड़ा डर लगता है ये सब सोच के। तो हमको बहुत ही सतर्क होकर काम करना है, और आप लोग उस फील्ड में काम कर रहे हैं, इसलिए मुझे आज बहुत खुशी मेरे को महसूस कर रही हूँ कि मैं एक अच्छी जगह पे आके अपने विचार रख रही हूँ। जैसे जैसे आगे बढ़े, हमारे माउंटेन फील्ड में सिखाया जाता है कि गंदा नहीं करना। मैं हर जगह जाती हूँ, मैं बहुत जगह, मैं गूगल में गई, मैं बहुत जगह लेक्चर देने के लिए जाती हूँ। मेरा टॉपिक रहता है क्लाइम योर ओन एवरेस्ट। मैं ज़रूर उन लोगों से एक रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ कि आप जहाँ पे भी जाते हैं आप किसी की गंदगी मत उठाइए, लेकिन इतना तो कर सकते हैं कि अपनी गंदगी छोड़ के मत आना। बस हर कोई अगर इस बात पे काम करेगा तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि वातावरण में कुछ गलत चीज़ें आएंगी, कुछ असर तो पड़ेगा, अच्छा असर। तो ये जब हमारा एक्सपीडिशन था, हम लोग ने क्लाइंबिंग के लिए गए, क्लाइंबिंग के लिए निकले। बहुत सारी, जितनी बड़ा पहाड़ उतनी ही बड़ा परेशानियां ज़्यादा आते हैं, उतने ही ऑब्स्टिकल्स ज़्यादा आते हैं, उतना ही ज़्यादा हमको फेस करना पड़ता है। हम ऐसे जगह पे हैं जहाँ पूरी दुनिया से कटे हुए लोग हैं, जितने लोग हैं बस वही हम 1 महीना 1.5 महीने तक एक दूसरे को देख रहे हैं। प्लानिंग इतना परफेक्ट होना चाहिए कि दिल्ली में बैठ के आपको समझना पड़ेगा कि मेरे को 40 दिन का मेरा एक्सपीडिशन है, तो 39 डेज मैं जहाँ पे भी रहूँगी तो वहाँ पे क्या खाऊंगी, उसकी प्लानिंग आपको दिल्ली में बैठ के करना पड़ेगा। आपको पानी नहीं मिलता, आपको पानी बनाना पड़ता है। उस पानी बनाने के लिए आपका फ्यूल कितना लगेगा वो दिल्ली में बैठ के आपको प्लान करना पड़ता है। तो कितनी बार के इसे हमको ये प्लान करना पड़ता है और ये प्लान सिखाया जाता है। ये प्लानिंग जो रहती है, यदि आपके कारण कोई प्लानिंग फेल होता है तो दुनिया उंगली उठाएगी। बाय नेचर अगर कुछ हो गया नेचर की तरफ से तो फिर ठीक है। तो हम नहीं चाहते हैं कि ऐसा कोई एक्सपीडिशन में ऐसी मुश्किलें चीज़ें आए जिससे अपना एक्सपीडिशन फेल हो जाए। तो ये सब जब हो रहा था, केदारनाथ की घटना 16 जून को घट गई, हमको कुछ नहीं मालूम। हम 19,000 में बैठे हुए, बस दूसरे दिन हमको पहाड़ के ऊपर पहुंचना था, भागीरथी 2 पीक। हमारे इंडिया में बहुत सुंदर पहाड़ हैं। आप कश्मीर से लेके अरुणाचल प्रदेश तक चले जाइए, पहाड़ों की लाइन लगी हुई है और बहुत सारे माउंटेन अभी ऐसे हैं जो अनक्लाइम्ड है, क्लाइम नहीं हुआ है। विदेशी लोग हमारे इंडिया के पहाड़ में क्लाइम करने के लिए बहुत आते हैं। तो ऐसे 93 में जब हमारा एवरेस्ट एक्सपीडिशन गया, उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड किया कि हम एवरेस्ट के लिए इतना पैसा खर्चा कर रहे हैं, क्यों ना हम ऐसा करें कि अपने इंडिया के पहाड़ों को आगे बढ़ाएं और अपनी इंडिया के जो लेडीज़ हैं, जो पुरुष हैं, उनको अपने पहाड़ों में जाने का मौका दें और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को भेज सकते हैं। क्योंकि 93 में जब हम लोग एवरेस्ट के लिए गए थे तो 12-14 लोगों की टीम के लिए 80 लाख रुपये खर्चा आया था। तो उतने में तो काफ़ी लोगों को हिमालय का दर्शन करा सकते हैं। और हिमालय एक प्रयोगशाला है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है। उस हिमालय में जाने के बाद हम अपने आप को पहचान सकते हैं। क्योंकि हार्डशिप में अगर आप किसी को भी डाल देंगे ना तो ओरिजिनल चीज़ें बाहर आती है, नहीं तो सब आर्टिफिशियल है। कितने भी आराम जगह आप रहिए तो वो आर्टिफिशियल चीज़ें दिखेंगी, हार्डशिप में डालेंगे तो ओरिजिनल चीज़ें बाहर। तो मैं तो कहती हूँ हिमालय एक प्रयोगशाला है जहाँ अपने आप को परख सकते हैं, आपको देख सकते हैं कि आप में क्या है। उसके अंदर अगर कोई वहाँ जो पहुँचता है ना तो गुस्से वाला है, प्यार वाला है, एडजस्ट करने वाला है, चिड़चिड़ा है, सब समझ में आ जाता है। ये माउंटेन अलग, बस ये केदार डोम पीक है, इसके पीछे ही केदारनाथ मंदिर। वैसे एरियल डिस्टेंस में तो हम लोग बहुत नज़दीक थे, पर वैसे जाएंगे तो केदारनाथ। ये घटना होने के बाद हमारे पास वहाँ पे हमारे फ़ोन चलते नहीं है, वॉकी टॉकी हमारे पास रहती है, उसमें टाइम फिक्स करना पड़ता है। लेकिन समय हमारे पास वॉकी टॉकी को बचाने का, जो बैटरी बचाने का इतना बड़ा टास्क रहता है, क्योंकि बहुत जल्दी वो ख़त्म हो जाता है। तो उसको एक छोटे बच्चे जैसा उसको हैंड ग्लव्स में डालो, सॉक्स में डालो, फिर अपने साथ सुलाओ, ऐसा बचाते हैं। लेकिन 14-15 तारीख को 2-2:30 बजे से जो सब घटनाएं घटने लगी तो वो पूरे हिमालय के उसमें मौसम खराब हो गया। तो मौसम जब खराब हो गया तो मुझे समझ में आ गया कुछ ना कुछ अनहोनी हुई है, लेकिन पता ही नहीं क्या हुई है। तो मेरी एक टीम आगे, एक टीम में और 3 टीम में हम लोग बटे थे। 12 लोग माउंटेन फील्ड में बहुत बड़ी टीम होती है, क्योंकि ये माउंटेन फील्ड बड़ा रिस्की फील्ड है। तो आगे पीछे थे, आगे पीछे होने के कारण अब कैसे उनके साथ कम्युनिकेट किया जाए। तो मैं हर घंटे वॉकी टॉकी ऑन करती थी, कोई तो खोले। उसमें टाइम फिक्स रहता है, सुबह 5 बजे का टाइमिंग था। 5 बजे इन्होंने खोला नहीं तो मैं डर गई थी। तब तक ये लगता था कि चलो सो रहे होंगे, लेकिन स्नोफॉल जब होता है तो आप टेंट में आराम से सो नहीं सकते, आपको बाहर निकल के वो सारा टेंट साफ करना पड़ता है, नहीं तो दब जाएगा, फट जाएगा। टेंट फट गए तो आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते। तो 5:15 बजे जब मेरे पोर्टर ने उठाया तो उसने कहा, मैंने उससे कहा कि भाई लड़कियां कैसी? बोले मैडम ठीक है। मैं कहा वापस आ जाओ। बोले वापस? मैं कहा हाँ वापस। आप जो सोचिए, एक मिडिल क्लास फैमिली को इतनी बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलती है जहां उसका सक्सेस सामने दिखता है, उसको कहा जाए कि नहीं नहीं वापस जाना है, चलो, गुस्सा आएगा ही, हर किसी को गुस्सा आएगा। लेकिन मुझे नहीं मालूम कि वो एक्सपीरियंस के आधार पे या फिर उस ईश्वर ने एक शक्ति दी होगी कि बोलो वापस चलो, नहीं तो फिर सब खत्म होने वाला है। और वहाँ पे उन्होंने समझा, वापस आए तो हम लोग बेस में पहुँचे। नीचे उतरते समय बहुत ज़्यादा कहीं कहीं पे जब फ्रेश स्नोफॉल होता है, पहाड़ों में जब गर्मी होती है, तब गर्मी होने के कारण छोटे छोटे नाले बन जाते हैं, बर्फ़ पिघलती है। लेकिन उसके ऊपर जब फ्रेश स्नोफॉल हो जाता है तो वो हिडन हो जाते हैं। रिस्क वहाँ पे लगता है, क्योंकि पहाड़ों में रास्ते नहीं बने हुए हैं, आपको डायरेक्शन लेके आगे बढ़ना है। तो आगे जब चल रहे थे तो मेरी 3 लड़कियाँ 14,500-15 हज़ार में पानी के अंदर डूबी तो एक तो मेरे साथ थी, मेरी साइंटिस्ट सबसे आगे, उसको भेज दिया था आगे, क्योंकि वो साइंटिस्ट, उसका नॉलेज, उसको सल्यूट करती हूँ, उसको सलाम करती हूँ। लेकिन चलने का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था, तो मुझे एक वो चीज़ें बड़ी अलग सा फील हो रहा था। तो उसको सेफ्टी के आधार पे 5 बजे उसको वहाँ से निकाल दिया। हम लोग 9 बजे, मैं 9 बजे निकली, मेरे साथ एक लड़की थी जो कमज़ोर धीरे चल रही थी। जब वो पानी में गई, आप जस्ट ये सोचिए ना, वो पानी, ऐसा पानी जिसमें हाथ लगाने से ठंड का करंट लगता हो, और वहाँ आप डूब जाएं। पीछे से रक्शा खींच के खड़ा किया, बोले चलो, कोई कपड़ा नहीं, कुछ नहीं, क्योंकि सब तो छोड़ के आगे निकले। करीब 1 घंटे तक ऐसे ही निकाला, उसको मोटिवेट किया। कैंप में पहुंचे तो पता चला साइंटिस्ट की हाल बुरा है। तो वहां से हम, जैसे मैं बहुत शॉर्ट में बता रही हूँ, टाइम बिल्कुल नहीं है, मुझे बहुत कम समय मिला है। यहाँ से हम लोग आगे निकले, हम आए भुजवासा में। भुजवासा वो भोजपत्र के जंगल हुआ करते थे वहाँ किसी जमाने में। इतिहास है भाई, इतिहास को आप नकार नहीं सकते। लेकिन आज यदि आप वहाँ गए तो एक भी पेड़ भोजपत्र के नहीं है। और वहां पहुंचे तो वहां 80 लोग फंसे हुए थे अपने बच्चों के साथ में, और वो हमको देख के उन्होंने कुछ नहीं बोला कि क्या हुआ, कब गए थे, ऐसे काले पीले क्यों हो रखे, कि सनबर्न होके पूरे काले हो रखे थे। तो बोला दीदी आप लोग कहाँ? हमने वो सामने पहाड़ से आ रहे। तो बोले अपने बच्चों को बोला कल इनका हाथ पकड़ना, आगे निकलना। लिटरली हम लोगों ने वो काम किया। मैंने इस पहाड़ में कोई झंडा नहीं गाड़ा, लेकिन मैं हर जगह इस दावे के साथ कह सकती हूँ कि इस एक्सपीडिशन ने बहुत कुछ समाज को दिया, बहुत कुछ मैंने सीखा, बहुत कुछ दिया है। उन पेरेंट्स के बच्चों का हाथ पकड़ पकड़ के हम लोग गंगोत्री तक लेके आए। रास्ता इतना मुश्किल भरा रास्ता था, एक जगह तो इतना खराब है कि आज भी आप जाएंगे तो वो जगह वैसी की वैसी, आप अकेले नहीं जा सकते हैं। लेकिन वहाँ से आगे निकले, गंगोत्री पहुँचे, गंगोत्री का हाल, रास्ता नेशनल हाईवे का है, गंगोत्री से और नीचे आए, ये देखिए ऐसी जगह जैसे डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट ने एक रोप बांधी हुई, और वहाँ पीछे आप देखेंगे भागीरथी नदी का जितना रौद्र रूप दिखता था उतना ही कर्कश आवाज। मैं इनको बोलती थी रस्सी के ऊपर वेट मत डालना, अगर रस्सी के ऊपर वेट डाला तो 15 सेकंड नहीं लगेगा नीचे भागीरथी नदी में समाने के लिए। जैसे कैसे यहाँ से निकले, लोगों को मोटिवेट करते, चलो चलो थोड़ा सा रह गया, चलो आगे निकलते हैं, चलो बस थोड़ा है। ये करते हुए हम लोग उत्तरकाशी आए, ऋषिकेश आए। ऋषिकेश में जब मैं पहुंची तब मैं रिलैक्स इसलिए हो गई थी कि हम लोग सेफ। अब मैं हर जगह रुकी नहीं, एक ही मेरा पर्पस था कि केदारनाथ की घटना घटने के बाद नेशनल हाईवे का अता पता नहीं था। मैंने कहा ये हजारों लोग जो यहाँ फंसे हैं वो खाएंगे क्या, क्योंकि सप्लाई कुछ नहीं है। तो मेरा एक ही मकसद था कि हम लोग निकलते। हम 17 लोग थे, 12 मेंबर, एक मेरा डॉक्टर और 4 मेरे साथ है, पर मेरे किचन स्टाफ मिला के 17 लोग कहीं रुकेंगे, कुछ तो खाएंगे, चाहे अपना ही पैसा लगाए, राशन तो खत्म कर रहे हैं। तो उसको नकारते हुए हमने कहा निकलो, कैसे भी निकलो। उत्तरकाशी पहुंचने, गंगोत्री से उत्तरकाशी, गंगोत्री के पास बस आती है, गंगोत्री से उत्तरकाशी पहुंचे 100 किलोमीटर है। 3 दिन में हम लोग वहां पहुंचे। लेकिन जब ऋषिकेश पहुंचे तब बहुत खराब लगा। खराब इसलिए लगा कि मैं सेफ हो गई थी, खराब इसलिए लगा लोग अपनों को ढूंढ रहे थे और फोटो दिखा के कहते हैं मैडम कहीं देखा क्या। वो समय मेरे लिए इतना कष्टदायी था कि मैं कभी नहीं भूलती। आज भी जब इस बारे में बात करती हूँ तो किसी दूसरी दुनिया में चली जाती हूँ। ये सब होने के बाद एक दो चीज़ें, बस बहुत ही छोटी चीज़, मतलब इतना शॉर्ट किया ना मैंने, मैं बता नहीं सकती आपको, इतनी अच्छी चीज़ें हैं इसमें बताने के लिए, लेकिन मुझे फिर बोलूँगी समय बहुत कम है। दिल्ली आने के बाद दिल्ली में सामान सुमान दिया, लेकिन मेरे ऊपर एक जिम्मेवारी थी। एक चीज़ और बताना चाहूँगी बीच में कि हम लोग जगह जगह पे लोगों का सामान उठा के लेके जाते हैं, चलो भाई वहाँ तक छोड़ देंगे, आप लोग आ जाओ, क्योंकि हम रुक नहीं सकते हैं, उसका सामान वहाँ, उसका सामान। तो मैं किसी का सामान उठा के आगे चल रही थी, तो मैं ये सोच रही थी जब जिंदगी में सब कुछ खत्म हो गया तो इस सामान में क्या होगा, इस बैग में क्या हो सकता है जो ये लेके चल रहे हैं। अब तो कुछ पता ही नहीं ना, हम तो ठीक है माउंटेनियर लोग निकल जाते हैं, लेकिन ये लोग जो चल रहे हैं, यात्री लोग जिन्होंने कभी पैदल रास्ता चले नहीं, जो घर से निकले गाड़ी में बैठने वाले लोग, परिस्थितियां कब बदल जाती है, सिचुएशन कैसे आते हैं, कुछ नहीं बोल सकते हैं। तो उनके बैग को जब मैं पकड़ी थी तो बाहर से ऐसे हाथ लगा रही थी, क्या हो सकता है, कुछ नहीं था, गंगा जल की बोतल थी। मुझे उस गंगा जल की बोतल ने एक चीज तो मुझे निश्चित करा दिया कि वो गंगा जल की बोतल इस चीज का द्योतक, इस चीज का सिंबल था वो मेरे लिए कि लोगों की आस्था जिंदा थी, और वही आस्था आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित कर रही थी। चलो कुछ नहीं हुआ, जिंदगी में बहुत कुछ है अभी, और आगे बढ़ रहे थे हम। मैं दिल्ली आई, दिल्ली आने के बाद वहाँ से निकली, वहाँ से फिर मैं अक्टूबर में दोबारा से गई। मैं एक नेशनल टीम को लीड कर रही थी, जिम्मेवारी का एहसास मुझे था, क्योंकि मेरी टीम में लाखों रुपए का, हमारा जूता है तो 50-60 हज़ार से शुरू होता है। मैं सब कुछ छोड़ के आई थी 4 कैंपों में, सबको बोला था सब कुछ छोड़ दो, अपना रक्षक उठाओ, चलो निकलो बाहर, निकलना है। और वहाँ से जब वापस आई, दिल्ली आई, अपने पोर्टर्स के साथ कांटेक्ट में रही। 8 अक्टूबर को मेरा जब हमारा नेशनल दिल्ली का IMF जो इंडियन एपेक्स बॉडी माउंटेनियरिंग की, इंडियन माउंटेन फाउंडेशन, उसके 100 लोग, 125 लोग मेंबर हैं, उसमें मैं भी हूँ। तो जो हमारी एनुअल जनरल बॉडी मीटिंग हुई तो मैंने कहा, उनको स्लाइड्स तो दिखाना पड़ता है, तो मैंने दिखाया, उनको कहा सर आज मेरा एक्सपीडिशन पूरा। बोले आज कैसे हुआ, तुम्हारा तो जून में हो गया। तब मैंने उनको कहा कि ये जो बाहर सामान सूख रहा है मेरा, मैं दोबारा गई और सारा लेके आई। और ये सारी चीजें अपने ऑफिस वालों को, सब लोग मुझे कह रहे थे अरे एक लाइन में लिख दे डिजास्टर हुआ। मैंने कहा सबने देखा है, उसमें लिखने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, नहीं जाऊंगी तो कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे, लेकिन एक जिम्मेदारी का एहसास था मेरे ऊपर और मैं गई और सब लेके आई। अब बहुत जल्दी इसको खत्म करती हूँ, अब देखो दूसरी चीज भी आती हूँ क्योंकि समय बहुत कम है, फिर बोलूंगी। मैं बहुत ये बोल रही हूँ कि सपने देखने की कोई उम्र नहीं होती है, कभी भी देख सकते हैं। स्पेशली मेरे एज के लोगों को 55 से लेके 60 के बाद जो लोग रिटायर हो जाते हैं, सब कुछ जिम्मेवारियां खत्म हो जाती हैं, बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं, बहुत कुछ हम लोग कर सकते हैं यदि ठाने तो हम लोगों ने सोचा क्यों ना हम एक एग्जाम्पल सेट करें। हम अगर कहीं जाके किसी स्टेज के ऊपर कुछ बात करते हैं, यदि आपने वो चीज़ किया होगा तो आप दावे के साथ उसको बोल सकते हैं। तो हमने वो सिद्ध करने की कोशिश की और हमने ट्रांस हिमालय किया लास्ट ईयर। 8 मार्च को दिल्ली में हमारा फ्लैग ऑफ, सब लेडीज थी। सबसे छोटी लड़की जो थी वो 52 साल की थी और सबसे बड़ी जो तो 68 ईयर्स की थी। बचेंद्री पाल दीदी हमारी लीडर थी और हम लोगों ने महाराष्ट्र, ऑल इंडिया से हम लोग 12 लोगों का सिलेक्शन हुआ, जिसमें महाराष्ट्र से मैं अकेली थी। यूथ अफेयर्स एंड स्पोर्ट्स मिनिस्ट्री, आर्मी और टाटा स्टील एडवेंचर फाउंडेशन का एक संयुक्त अभियान था। मोटो यही था कि फिट रहिए, फिट रहेंगे तो जिंदगी बहुत अच्छे ढंग से हम लोग जी सकते हैं। बस एक ही चीज़ को मकसद लेके हम लोग आगे निकले। अब हमारे सामने प्रॉब्लम क्या थे, हमारे सामने सबसे, इतनी लंबी जर्नी, 5 महीने की जर्नी ट्रैकिंग, उसमें थोड़ा बीच बीच में हम लोग बस में बैठते, कहीं 5000 किलोमीटर करीब था। 37 पासेस हम लोगों ने क्रॉस करने थे और 2500 से लेके 2800 किलोमीटर हम लोगों ने पैदल किया, वो भी हम लोग क्या 10,000 से लेके 18,000 के बीच में थे। तो ये जब करते समय प्रॉब्लम, सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा था एज, कि भाई कुछ भी बोलो एज है। उसके अलावा जो प्रॉब्लम्स वहाँ आने वाले थे, क्योंकि हम ऐसी जगह जा रहे थे जहाँ कोई कम्युनिकेशन का साधन नहीं था। नेपाल में गए हम लोग, अरुणाचल से म्यांमार बॉर्डर है, पांगसू पास करके म्यांमार बॉर्डर, इंडिया में म्यांमार बॉर्डर है, वहाँ से निकले। अविनाश ने ही रास्ता हमको पॉइंट सुझाया था कि यहाँ से आप लोग जा सकते हैं, क्योंकि भूटान ने रास्ते बंद कर दिए थे, कोरोना की वजह से उन्होंने खोला नहीं था। वहाँ से हम लोग निकले 12 मार्च को। अरुणाचल, वेस्ट बंगाल, आसाम, वेस्ट बंगाल, आसाम, ऐसे करते करते हम लोग निकल गए थे नेपाल में। नेपाल में 56 डेज हम लोग थे। नेपाल में ऐसी जगह थे जहाँ किसी से कोई कम्युनिकेशन हो ही नहीं सकता था। कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ गए तो उसको कैसे फेस करेंगे, क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं पता, लेकिन इरादे बुलंद थे, विल पावर स्ट्रांग था, करना है बस और कुछ नहीं। और उसी जोश और उसी उत्साह के साथ हम लोगों ने उसको पूरा किया। हम लोग अरुणाचल से जब निकले, उसके बाद नेपाल जब पहुँचे, 58 दिन हम लोग वहाँ रहे। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने उत्तराखंड में एंटर किया। उत्तराखंड, हिमाचल, लेह लद्दाख होते हुए हमका द्रास में हमारा समापन समारोह था। लेकिन उसी में एक बैड लक कहूँगी, तो एक छोटी सी घटना मेरे साथ घटी कि मैं हरसिल के पास में एक लम्खा का पास है, जिससे हम उसको क्रॉस करके उत्तराखंड से हिमाचल में जाते हैं। 17,000 में मैं गिर गई थी। हमेशा लीड करती थी, हमेशा आगे रह के, हमेशा मैं लीड करना, सुबह उठे कि मैं सबसे आगे, मेरे पीछे सब लोग, लेकिन मैं 17,000 पे गिरी। वो भी कैसे गिरी मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, गिरते हुए मुझे पता नहीं चला, लेकिन एक पत्थर के ऊपर पैर रखा, ग्लेशियर नीचे रहते हैं, बर्फ पिघल जाती है। और वो 17,000 में जब मैं गिरी तो मेरा एक लेफ्ट हिप डिसलोकेट हो गया, टूट गया, राइट उंगली टूट गई। तो सब मेरे पास आए तो मुझे सब समझ में आ रहा था, आ रहे हैं। जब वो आए तो मैंने आँख खोल दिया, तो बोले दीदी क्या हुआ? उनका कुछ नहीं हुआ। थोड़ा बिठाया, पैर हिलाया तो राइट वाला हिल रहा था। मैंने कहा ठीक है, लेकिन लेफ्ट जब हिलाने गई तो फिर समझ में आ गया। बस ऐसा लग रहा था कि अब ये पहाड़ टूटेगा, ये मेरे साथ के ये लोग मरेंगे। मुझे ज़्यादा उन लोगों की चिंता हो रही थी कि मेरे वजह से ये लोग जाएंगे। उनका दीदी थोड़ा ऊपर जाना है। मेरे बैग, मेरे पास 14 किलो का सामान उठा रही थी, उन्होंने मैट्रेस निकाला, मेरे को लपेटा और जैसे कैसे उस रिज तक ले गए। रिज इतना साफ था कि ऐसे रिज में मेरे को उन्होंने ऐसे लिटा ही नहीं पाया, मेरे को ऐसा लिटाया। और लिटाया जब मैंने पीछे नीचे झाँक के दिया तो खाई, नीचे उतरना है। उतारने के लिए रेस्क्यू टीम का मेरे पास इतना नहीं था, क्योंकि इतने समय से आर्मी वाले थे हमारे साथ, लेकिन इतना टीम नहीं था कि मेरे को रेस्क्यू कर सके। हेली के लिए कहा गया तो उन्होंने कहा आप ब्रिज के ऊपर है, हम लोग आपको उठा नहीं पाएंगे, आप नीचे उतरो। एक नेपाली बंदा आया मेरे पास, बोले दीदी आप मेरी पीठ में आ जाओ। अब जिस कल्पना कीजिए, इतना टूट फूट होने के बाद में हमारी लीडर बचिन दीदी ने मेरी अपनी भाषा में कहा कि देख थोड़ा सा दर्द और सह ले। कितना थोड़ा? मैं 2.5 घंटे उसके पीठ में आई। मेरा स्लाइड चल नहीं रहा, नहीं तो मैं बहुत अच्छा दिखाती आपको, ठीक है। मैं उसके पीठ में आई, 2.5 घंटे तक इतना खराब रास्ता वो मेरे को पीठ में लाया। उसके बाद आर्मी वाले आए, उन्होंने स्ट्रेचर में मेरे को डाला। और 5 जुलाई को मैं सुबह 11 बजे गिरी। रात को 2:30 बजे मैं रिकोंगपियो पहुंची, रोड हेड पहुंची। और 6 तारीख को सुबह रिकोंगपियो पहुंची। 11 बजे करीब वो डॉक्टर सिविल अस्पताल में लेके, और उन्होंने लिटाया लुटाया, मेरे एक्सरे किया। एक आर्मी वाले को मेरे यहाँ पे खड़ा कर दिया, बोले दबा के रखो मैडम का, ये दबा के रखना जोड़ के। और मेरा पैर घुमा के डिसलोकेट ठीक हो गया। वहाँ से मैं आई शिमला में सिटी स्कैन वगैरह कुछ हुआ ही नहीं। वहाँ से जब मेरे बहुत सारे फ्रेंड हैं नागपुर में डॉक्टर्स, उन्होंने कहा मैडम को सीधा नागपुर लाओ। नागपुर आई, 8 तारीख को पहुँची तो मेरा बीपी बढ़ा था, क्योंकि 5 तारीख सुबह 5 बजे के बाद मैंने कुछ खाया नहीं था, डर के मारे कि मैं वॉशरूम कैसे जाऊँगी। फिर मेरा 9 तारीख को ऑपरेशन का वो डिसाइड हुआ कि 9 तारीख को करेंगे। तो लेकिन जब मेरे को ऑपरेशन थिएटर के अंदर लेके जा रहे थे, मैंने कहा डॉक्टर साहब मुझे वापस जाना है। बोले वापस जाना है? मैंने कहा हाँ। बोले ठीक है आपको वापस। बोले जाना कब है? मैं कहा 20-22 तारीख को। और मैं गई 22 तारीख को। मेरा 2 प्लेट पड़ी हुई है, अभी भी प्लेट पड़ी हुई है। इस उंगली में जो राइट साइड की उंगली में एक तार डाला था पूरा अंदर से। मुझे डॉक्टर ने कहा था ये पैर को आप जमीन में नहीं रखना, बस 45 डेज जमीन में रखना। मैं कहा ठीक है डन करेंगे। सहयोग अविनाश का था, वो नहीं ले जाते तो जाती कैसे। लेकिन जब मैं ये सब सोच रही थी कि इतना पूरा एक्सपीडिशन हो, केवल 20 दिन की बात थी और मैं उसमें नहीं जा पाई, तो मैं इसलिए मैंने हिम्मत बांधी कि मैंने कहा कि देखो हड्डी हुड्डी टूट फूट सब जुड़ जाते हैं। इतना अच्छा साइंस डेवलप हो गया, सब जुड़ जाते हैं, लेकिन जो मन टूटा वो कैसे जुड़ेगा। बस यही मैंने सोचा, यदि अभी मैंने हिम्मत बांध ली तो मैं आगे चल पड़ूंगी। अदरवाइज मेरे ज़िंदगी के लिए मैं एक चीज़ के लिए रोती रहूंगी कि अरे थोड़ा सा छूट गया, अरे थोड़ा सा छूट गया। यही चीज़ था जो मेरे अपना विल पावर स्ट्रॉन्ग करते हुए वापस गई। लद्दाख लेह पहुंची। लेह पहुंचने के बाद मेरे को डॉक्टर वहाँ से मेरे लीडर का फ़ोन आया कि तू कुछ भी कर, तू कल 12 बजे तक द्रास पहुँच। मैं कहा 12 बजे तक द्रास, 280 किलोमीटर पहाड़ी रास्ता। लेकिन भगवान का साथ था और उन्होंने एक रास्ता दिखाया। मैं 3 बजे निकले हम लोग और 11:15 बजे मैं वॉर मेमोरियल के पास में पहुंची। बहुत अच्छे ढंग से स्वागत हुआ, बहुत अच्छे ढंग से वेलकम हुआ, बहुत अच्छे ढंग से वो प्रोग्राम अटेंड किया। लेकिन कारगिल दिवस का जो प्रोग्राम रहता है ना, वो वीवीआईपी लोगों को परमिशन मिलता है, हमारी टीम को मिला ही नहीं। जबकि बछिंद्री पाल पद्म भूषण पद्मश्री सब कुछ मिला हुआ, नहीं मिला। 2 लोगों को दिया, उसमें बछिंद्री दी और मेरे को दिया। तो मैं जब सोचती हूँ कि देखो ये सब होने की घटनाएं घट गई, लेकिन मैं उस प्रोग्राम में उस जगह थी, उन आत्माओं, सच्ची आत्माओं के साथ में थी उस दिन, जिनको हम लोग याद करके, जिनके बदौलत हम चैन के सांस ले रहे हैं, चैन की नींद सोते हैं। शहीद दिवस के दिन मैं वहाँ पे थी और अपने आप को धन्य समझ रही थी कि मुझे आज यहाँ पे आने का मौका मिला और उनको श्रद्धांजलि दी, हमारे वीर आर्मी के वीर जवानों को। फिर दिल्ली आए, मुर्मू जी से मिले, ये सब हुई। ये सारी घटनाएं जो हैं, मैं केवल इसलिए आपको एक्सप्लेन कर रही हूँ कि लेडीज़ कहीं कम नहीं है, बस अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलने की बात है और बहुत कुछ हम लोग कर सकते हैं। मुझे समय बहुत कम है इसलिए कुछ बोल नहीं पाई, धन्यवाद। फिर हम लोग मिलेंगे नीरी डिपार्टमेंट, नीरी के लोग अगर चाहेंगे तो फिर आप थोड़ा लंबा समय अगर देंगे तो बहुत बारीकी चीज़, लेकिन बहुत अच्छी चीज़, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ से हम बात करेंगे और ज़रूर हम लोग आगे फिर मिलते रहेंगे। थैंक यू सो मच।
Can't thank you enough, ma'am, for your such an inspirational speech. Your courage is outstanding, and as a woman, I salute your daring. I wish we could hear you more. I mean, the time is really short, and your journey was so inspiring that we would like to listen you more. So I now like to request our senior most scientist, Dr. Sadhana ma'am, to kindly felicitate our chief guest. It is often said that behind every successful man there is a woman. But today I can say that behind every successful woman there is a man. And the better halves of both our special guests are present with us today, who are the greatest supporters of their magnificent journey to accomplish their goal. So now I would like to request our ma'am to kindly felicitate Sir. Avinash sir, please.
अरे 1 मिनट रुको तो।
Now we'll move on to our next speaker. So, women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. And one such talented and charismatic personality of our institute is present with us today as our chief guest, another speaker, Dr. Sadhana Railu. She is a chief scientist of CSIR-NEERI, heading the Environmental Materials Division. She is directing the research related to materials in the area of energy and environmental technologies. She is leading the team of green crackers developed by NEERI, which are eco-friendly, less emitting alternatives to the traditional firecrackers, and has made significant contributions. Her vision and perseverance made it possible for the team to develop all this specific for green crackers. This technology has been transferred to more than 1,000 firecrackers manufacturers. As a chemist, she has used her knowledge to develop materials for addressing energy and environmental nexus issues with successful field demonstration of carbon capture and green hydrogen. Her outstanding contribution in the field of science for environmental protection and sustainable development are groundbreaking, and it makes us feel so proud to have you as our role model, ma'am. Not only her contributions are restricted to India, but she is also coordinating various bilateral international programs and collaborations, including Indo-Korean, Indo-UK collaborations, and Indo-US collaboration. She has worked with major corporations, including Alcoa and Horizon Fuel Cell, in addition to various Indian firms. She is not only a brilliant scientist, but a brilliant mentor. Many students have received their PhDs under the supervision of Dr. Railu. All the young researchers find inspiration in her, and she continues to do so. Dr. Sadhana has several publications and patents to her credit, and also the recipient of many prestigious awards for material development, including the Vasvik and Kemkon Awards, to name a few. You are a true inspiration to all of us, ma'am. I now request you to please share your words and address the gathering. Welcome, you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Deveshri. Good morning to you all once again. At the outset, I think I should be thanking the organizers for giving me this opportunity today to deliver this talk. Honestly speaking, when I was approached to deliver this talk, I was wondering what I would be talking about. Because yes, I have been presenting for past 37 years, so obviously I have tons of slides with me. But it really required for me to have a different perception and thinking when it came to talking on this subject. And as and when I started preparing, I realized that I'm going to get there will be shortage of time for me. So I request the organizers to do timeout whenever you feel that we are overshooting that allotted time. So let's start with the journey. I'll just touch upon my journey as a scientist in CSIR organization. I am born CSIRian. I joined immediately after my post-graduation in 1986 in NEERI. I'll touch upon my favorite research, which definitely is solar hydrogen and carbon capture, valorization and sequestration, which is getting a lot of importance now. Women empowerment is a very, very important topic. So I will illustrate certain case studies which have a lot of relevance as far as women empowerment is concerned. And here I would elaborate one of my most challenging and satisfying research which I have had in 37 years of my journey. And that, of course, is green firecrackers, and why it is most challenging and satisfying. I'll be touching upon that when I come to those slides. I cannot conclude without addressing the issues and challenges which women in general face, and in specific, the scientists, what challenges they are facing during the course of their journey when they take up this job of a scientist. My wish list and unfinished dream. This definitely I'll touch upon because I only have 6 months to go, and I'm not very sure how many of this I would be able to complete before I leave in November 23. Lastly, it cannot be concluded without giving tributes to my husband, who's sitting here in the audience, my son, Jatin Railu, and of course, my parents. So my journey in CSIR, I started in 1986 as Junior Research Fellow. As I've mentioned, I joined in 1986, and then I was selected as technical group. I'm sorry to say this, but this was a mistake which I did in my career, and I want to highlight so that these kind of mistakes are not made, okay? I was a doctorate at that point of time, and I used to suffer a lot of ridiculous remarks which really hurt me. I'm thankful to those scientists who made those ridiculous remarks, because that prompted me to come out of the shell in which I was in. I led a very secluded life. I had never traveled alone in my life, believe me. But when I was challenged, my scientific temperament was challenged. And then I felt that my growth and progress is getting hampered. I decided that I have to break the shackles. I started applying for scientist positions in CSIR, and I'm very happy to share with you that I got the historical quantum jump. That is, I got promoted from technical group to scientist group 4-2, which is almost 5 jumps. So once that happened, I never looked back in my career. Through regular and lot of merit promotions, I reached to the position of chief scientist, which is what I am here today. Well, during this evolution, there was definitely my transformation from an organic chemist I was at 1986 to a material scientist, the seed of which was grown over here, wherein I converted lot of waste to activated carbon, and that inspired the material scientist temperament in me. I continued with my research at NML Jamshedpur, wherein I converted fly ash into zeolites, which are relatively advanced materials having certain functional properties, and I was able to bag nearly 9 international patents for this particular work way back in 1990. Then I ventured into the area of solar hydrogen and carbon capture in 2005, and NEERI, being a multidisciplinary institute, has multidisciplinary problems, so it tempted me to apply my knowledge of chemistry and materials to resolve problems not only in these areas but in water, wherein I worked for solar disinfection jointly with Rita and Kavita, then defluoridation of water and menstrual waste management. Now, coming to the last segment of my career, here I definitely did a research which was very, very challenging to me as a scientist, and of course a very, very satisfying because through this work we were able to protect the dwindling economy of more than 6,000 crores of a firework industry. So besides that, as I've mentioned, I was working in solar hydrogen and carbon capture since 2005. Now, I've been instrumental in establishing the Center of Excellence for Climate Change Research, which would be working upon the research areas which I've already mentioned previously. So, as already said by Debashri, I'm presently leading team of Environmental Materials Division, which majorly focuses on development of materials for different applications listed over here. And during the course of my presentation, I'll be touching upon some of the highlights of these activities. Well, this work basically has environmental and strategic impact. It has health impacts in the sense that issues which were related to emissions emanating from firecrackers could be resolved by developing pyrotechnic formulations which would be giving less of emissions. Similarly, societal impact was related with menstrual waste management work. So coming to my first favorite topic, that is carbon capture and sequestration. So we started with working on solar hydrogen in 2005, but everything doesn't end with a success. Photocatalytic hydrogen was pursued by us. It was scaled up to 25-liter reactor volume, which is being shown over here. but the cost of hydrogen which was being produced was more than 350 rupees per kg, which is definitely higher than what is required for it to be economically viable. This again was a challenging task for us, and we continued working in the area of solar hydrogen as to how we can reduce the OPEX and CAPEX, and I'll be sharing some very interesting results on this. The second activity definitely was related to carbon capture, valorization and sequestration, which is being pursued now as part of Center of Excellence. Well, this is what the outputs have all been for the different research areas related to climate change research. We have developed materials which are very selective for capture of CO2, but the problem over here was the regeneration of the material, which made the process very cost intensive. So here we integrated carbon capture with the use of solar energy and plasmonics so that the heat which is required for regeneration can be supplied directly as solar thermal energy or solar photothermal energy for regenerating the adsorbents and the solvents. Secondly, we used the concept of enzymatic catalysis for looking into the issues of regeneration, and here a new enzyme at that point of time, somewhere around 2008, was looked upon and applied for various catalytic carbonation reactions, which resulted into several international patents and high impact factor publications. In fact, one of the impact factor publications which we have in this area is about 30. So it's not about patent, but also peer-reviewed publications you can get if you focus on the research of your interest. Now coming to solar hydrogen, and I'm sure you must be wondering why I have highlighted this. Madam was mentioning that nothing is impossible for females, and I truly, truly believe that. Unfortunately, whenever we talk about female or women researchers, probably they are thought of doing good research in the lab, mixing chemicals, making synthesizing materials, so on and so forth. But as you can see in this picture, the work which has been carried out for this DST project, which was funded to us, which has a value of about 4.5 crores, and it's being taken up jointly with an industry, that is Reliance Industry, and our sister laboratory, CSIR-NEERI. In this, there is a team of about 4 people, out of which 3 are female students. And believe me, the person is sitting over here, Kushagra, he comes and tells me one day that all these females lift the cylinder, remove the regulator, tighten the bolts and do everything and never complain. I was so happy when Kushagra came and told me that. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Look at them. They are almost underweight. I should say that. If they stand, you'll see. But yes, they did everything because this work definitely required handling of reactors which are weighing somewhere around 15 to 20 kg. I'm sure you know the weight of the cylinders, so on and so forth. So this was a very, very interesting development. Here we have developed functional panels as well as facilitated water electrolyzers, which is giving hydrogen having a cost of about 125 to 150 rupees kg. And now I feel satisfied that the work which was initiated way back in 2005 and which was not meeting the targeted cost of hydrogen, now we have been able to achieve this through this DST funded project. So these are some very interesting developments. I'll not share the technical details, but what I want to highlight over here is that we are all aware of the solar panel. I'm sure about it. So if we go, the efficiency of this panel is normally 18%, but with the application of our knowledge of material science, we have coated the material in such a way there is an enhancement of efficiency almost by 30% at this point. And I'm not sure if the lady is sitting over here, but this work has been carried out by a female student. what I'm trying to drive is, and in fact, what I'm presenting today is all women-driven and women-centric work, because there's a mindset that there is certain kind of work which cannot be done by a woman, and it's not true, which you will accept and realize at the end of my presentation. So this work was also carried out by one of my female student, and imagine handling the panels, okay? Opening the screws, handling the panels, everything is done by them. So having done all these studies, of course, this was done by Kushagra, otherwise he'll say, Madam is being very partial and she's not mentioning my name, but that's not the case. Okay, all this work has been done. I'm basically highlighting what has been done by the female students, okay? So there was 30% enhancement in efficiency. When we applied the VTRUF, there was 10%. So if we add all the two, we ended up with a predicted enhancement of efficiency by 52%. And I'm sure you all understand that whatever is predicted, it's never achieved in practicals. So we've been able to achieve 35 to 40% enhancement in efficiency of the panel. And I'm sure you understand what are the implications of enhancing the electrical efficiency of a panel. It has a huge implications as far as cost of hydrogen is concerned, and it was one of the factors which was responsible in bringing down the cost of hydrogen to the tune of about 100 to 150 rupees per kg. So we have been practicing water splitting in pure water, and as mentioned by Dr. Chandrasekhar, it's not a very desirable idea to use water for splitting of hydrogen, because we are a rain-fed country, and as I've already mentioned, generation of 1 mole of oxygen or 2 kg of hydrogen requires 20 liters of water, and our country definitely cannot afford to waste water. So, to address this issue, we have been working on seawater electrolysis as well as sewage water electrolysis, and I'm very happy to share with you that we have been able to generate hydrogen to the tune of about 4.2 liter per minute, which is sufficient to run a 300 watt fuel cell. It is running very successfully in our solar energy park, and I would be very happy if you go and witness and see how my students are handling, in specific the female students. So now, having generated the hydrogen, this hydrogen is planning to be used for fuel cell, which shall be provided by CSIR-NEERI. Now coming to, Rita is already indicating 5 minutes to me, but yes, I'll just take 5 to 7 minutes, because this is an important topic which I think I should be mentioning, that is women empowerment. These definitions, I'm sure, are known to you, but what I would like to focus is that globally, and of course at organizational and also at institutional level, lot of efforts are being made for women empowerment, wherein these are the 3 things which essentially needs to be looked into. The first is accepting women's viewpoint, which is very, very important, making an effort to seek them, to get them out of the cocoon in which they are living and improve their visibility. This is something which definitely needs to be done, and raising the status of women through education, awareness, literacy and training. Well, these are some things which I tried to do during the course of my journey. As I've already mentioned, I have nearly 40 PhD students, and if I go into the statistics of it, more than 75% students are female, and I feel that I have done some contribution in empowering the females who are now very well placed in leading institutions and universities. Second very important thing which I would like to highlight is my work on green firecrackers. I'm sure most of the NEERians sitting over here know that, but this work not only protected the dwindling economy of 6,000 crores of a firework industry, but if you go into the statistics, it can be seen that more than 70% of the employees in this industry again are female. And I would appreciate if you visit with me to Shivkasi and you'll realize that it's the women who are doing it. And then when we developed these green firecrackers, which helped in lifting the ban, we have protected the jobs of more than 3 lakh women employees. So this is something which definitely gives me a lot of satisfaction as far as work is concerned. So as I have mentioned in the beginning, I wanted to illustrate how science and technology can play a very important role in women empowerment, which is what is listed over here. By developing green firecrackers, as I've already said, we have been able to protect the job of more than 3 lakh women employees. We have developed several domestic applications. This has definitely not reached to that level of success to which it could have been reached, and we are still working on it. We are working on developing biodegradable sanitary pads. We have worked on cloth-based masks. Jaya is sitting over here. We worked together during the pandemic, and it was a totally women-driven, women-centric activity. So before Lita gives me second call, I'll quickly take you through the first case study coming to green firecrackers. Well, this is a technology which has probably been taken up by the highest number of licensees, not only in our institute. The number of licensees are 1,050 as of today. It is one of the highest number of licensees in CSIR. This has been bestowed with all the awards which are listed over here. All this work has been patented, and it has been peer-reviewed and published in peer-reviewed journals. So this gives you basically the statistics which I was talking about as to how it has protected the job of 3 lakh employees. So I'm not going into the genesis and relevance of green firecrackers, because being Environmental Institute, I'm sure you all understand that there are a lot of environmental concerns because of the emissions which are listed over here. But what I would like to emphasize over here is that when the ban was imposed in 2017, the then Minister Dr. Harshavardhan posed a challenge to the scientists across CSIR laboratories to develop solutions or identify solutions which would protect, which would take care of the emissions and at the same time protect the dwindling economy of this industry. And I'm happy to share that our institute was the one which could identify and give a solution to the problem and saved the industry. So that is why it's a very, very satisfying and challenging thing to it. So I will not go into the details, but if you visit the site, this is a video which has been prepared by DST Vigyan Prasar, and this gives you half an hour detail of all the work which has been carried out at our institute, gives you glimpses of all the awards which have been bestowed on this technology, and just gives you the number which I've already mentioned. Why these pictures again? As I've said, 70% of the females working are, 70% of the employees, total employees working are females, okay? But what you see over here is, it's a totally male-dominated sector. All the CEOs, all the management, everything is all about male. This was very, very disheartening for me. And if I'll quickly take you through my wish list, my first wish list is that out of the 3 lakh employees which are there in this profession, it should be those females who would be having their own startups and they would be leading this. They should become the CEOs, and they are the ones who are working, but they are not into leading positions. It's my wish list that one of them at least should become the CEO of the different companies. If you see the major players, Standard Fireworks, Kaleshwari, all of them are headed by males. So these are demonstrations which were made by us at Shivkasi and West Bengal. I need not go into the details of West Bengal, but it happened to be a very, very sensitive area. And you can see that I have my female students over here, Utkarsha, many of them who were there in the field with us. You can see these are my female students who never got deterred, and they went ahead and did the job which was required to be done by them in the field. One thing which females are associated with it, that they don't want to go to field for obvious reasons, which people come to conclusion, but it's not the case. Fireworks is a fire-prone activity, which I'm sure you're all aware of. But here again in my team, more than 60% are female students, and not even once they ever complained to me that their hands, obviously sometimes it used to get scarred, and I think one of them visited madam also. They did have some injuries, but never they gave any excuses, and they prepared the formulations, they prepared the products, which you have seen in the few slides which I have presented. Now touching upon the biodegradable pads, which is again very interesting, which if I don't touch, some of my students will get very disappointed. We have been successful in developing the biodegradable pads, and these are some of the advanced materials which have been developed by my colleagues and students shown over here. So I'll quickly skip all these slides. Masks I've already mentioned. This was done jointly as a women-driven, women-centric activity at our institute, jointly with Shilpa madam as well as Jaya. So this was the work which was jointly undertaken with Rita and myself. And here again, we applied the materials in different devices, and it is now in field for one particular device, that is the solar pasteurizer as well as the solar heater. This is again developed by one of my student, Anuradha, sitting over here. This is an exemplary product according to me, and here again there is lot of improvement and enhancement. I am not going into the details of the numbers, but what I would like to say is that all the work which so far I have shown are women-driven, women-centric, and it should definitely overcome the syndrome which is there that women or females work best in the lab. It's not the case. That myth has been negated. Women can work equally good and equally well in the field, whether it's a sensitive area, whether it is a security hazard prone area, whatever it is. So that is why I have restricted to those case studies wherein the females have worked over there. Now before I conclude, I'll just list out some of the issues and challenges which we normally face. There are limited opportunities given to women, and efforts are being now made across different organizations and institutes to involve women more in decision-making roles. And as you can see, a lot of women at our institute are involved and leading a lot of key research areas. The ones highlighted are definitely being led by me. There are limited involvement of women in decision-making roles. Now it is being reversed. There is limited opportunity for application. Now Rishta is going to push me. Okay. Limited application. Here again, this issue needs to be discussed. What is encircled, I'm showing over here, is how well it has been done in the field and the myth has been negated. Well, these are not some very good things with which I would like to conclude, but I think as a female researcher and as a woman scientist, I shall definitely touch upon this topic. Emotional quotient. Now, this is something which is always questioned as far as females are concerned, but this is my very strong opinion that emotional quotient is one weapon which we have, and we should try to use it to the best possible. Please make your decisions with your heart and not your brains. Please listen to this is my personal opinion, and I have seen it that it has always helped me when it came to using the emotional quotient, for which we are unfortunately ridiculed because we are blessed with the tear glands. Sexual harassment, definitely it is something which should not be tolerated at any cost, and I'm happy to share that at our management strongly advocates zero tolerance for sexual harassment at our institute, and chairing the ICC and the grievance committee, I'm very happy to say that the cases are very, very negligible at our institute. And this is my personal opinion that CSIR-NEERI is one of the safest place to work as far as females are concerned, and it's been like a home for me for past 37 years. Now, coming to the unfinished dreams and the wish list, I always wanted to publish in Nature. I have chemical review, which is 54 impact factor. I have a publication in Energy Environmental Science, which has an impact factor of 30. It's okay, but I have not been able to achieve this. This is an unfinished dream for me. I'm not very sure, but I'll try my best till November 23 if I'm successful in achieving in it. I've already mentioned this. There are 3 lakh employees in the green firecracker industry, but not a single CEO or managing director. So before I quit, I would definitely like to see one of the startup being started by the employees over there. Health issues and other things which I've already touched upon, I'll take care. I definitely cannot conclude without thanking my guide, Dr. KSM Rao, and all the mentors listed over here. Dr. Atul Vaidya for all the support which he has been giving. My friend, guide and philosopher, Suresh Railu, sitting over here. It has been very, very tough for him. I've been away for days together, and whenever I come back, I'm always received with a smile on his face. So thank you so much, Suresh. Well, all my collaborators over here, and some take-home messages for all my colleagues. Critics are your best friends. Please do not get deterred by the criticism. Women should pledge to support other women officially, morally, as well as emotionally. And believe me, friends and family are your best support systems. So obviously, I cannot conclude without this photograph. This is my EMD team. Many of them are sitting over here. So thank you so much for having the faith in me and listening to me and supporting me in some not very good and some very crazy ideas. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us with your talk on exemplifying empowerment in such a diverse field of chemistry and environment and making things work for betterment. I thank both our speakers for the oration, which took us all to get the feel of empowered. I now request one of our very dynamic scientists, Dr. Atya Kaple, to felicitate our speaker, Dr. Sadhna ma'am. Also like to call upon Suresh sir, Atte ma'am, I also request to felicitate Suresh sir. Thank you. So with that, we'll move on to our next session.
So what comes from the heart goes to the heart. After this powerful session on toughness, intellectual strength and humanitarian qualities breaking all the shackles, we have seen two women sharing their beautiful life journey. And taking this session forward to another exciting segment of panel discussion, I request Dr. Asha and Dr. Shalini to take it forward, please.
Thank you, Kavita. It's our honor to be the moderator of an event of this magnitude. Very good afternoon to all of you. Let us start our panel discussion on drivers of women empowerment, education, skill development, and societal changes. When we talk of women empowerment, it may sound somewhat strange to many people. One can argue that women are already empowered. At least it sounds so. Let me answer it. When we connect this concept to spirituality, all persons have soul, whether he or she believes it or not. To attain nirvana or enlightenment, one has to achieve self-realization. Women empowerment is a similar kind of thing. She is empowered, but she has to realize it. When we refer Indian mythology, we are a part of that glorious civilization where women used to be educated and participated in all the decision making, whether it is at home, war, politics, or other domains of life. Equality of male and female powers were trusted for the sustainability of the universe. But when we look around in current scenario, we do not find women in that powerful position as in our ancient culture. Where has all this glory faded away and why? And who are the persons responsible for our poor plight today? Mahatma Gandhi once said that real advancement of women can come only by and through her own efforts. Education, skill development, and societal changes are the drivers that can empower women. So, to discuss how these drivers of women empowerment can bring the real change, we have invited few experts from different domains of society. They are all outstanding in their profession. We have 7 number of panelists. I request my co-moderator, who is Dr. Shalini Dhyani, Principal Scientist, to please request them to come on the dais. We have Mr. Archit Chandak, who is IPS officer. Please escort them. Professor Ruta Dharmadhikari. She is a professor of English literature and LAD College, Nagpur. Mrs. Pushpa Wagmare, who is a social worker. And Mr. Prem Dhoneji, who is ex-Sarpanch of Fetri village, Nagpur. Mr. Vikash Khurana, he is director of theatre. Mrs. Lata Singh, who is also the social worker. And Miss Rutuja, who is a student from LAD College. And she is a founder of Dance Academy. We welcome all and thank you all of you for gracing this event. I request Dr. Shalini to start the session. Over to you, Shalini.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think after such an interesting, exciting 2 women stalwarts who are with us, it really makes it more interesting to go into panel discussion. And we have very diverse group of people coming from all walks of life, different stakeholders representing this discussion and panel. So I'm really thinking that we'll have a lot of takeaway messages when we end this session. We are already running late, as you all know, almost more than 1 hour, and many of our guests are also having to leave early. So in that respect of time, I'll keep some housekeeping rules for this session. We have just 1 hour and we have almost 7 panelists here. I will request at least 2 questions to be answered by all of you as time permits, but at the same time, I'd also request that please try to summarize your answer in 2 to 3 minutes. That gives ample opportunity to others, and it can definitely help us to have some takeaway messages when we end this discussion. So with this, I want to invite our first panelist for this session, who is Shri Archit Chandakji. He's a senior IPS officer. And sir, as you represent administration and a regulatory body in this panel, my question, this is a very common question that we'll be asking our panelists. My question, first of all, with you is, in your system, in your administrative body, and how you see this entire system running, how do you define and see and perceive women empowerment in this context?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. You asked, how do I perceive women empowerment? As somebody here rightly pointed out, women empowerment is not something which is to be given to women. They are empowered themselves, and it is to be realized at the functional level. At the functional level, that women and men both need to realize that women are empowered enough, independent enough to do the jobs they want to do, to have the choices, to bear, to maybe think what they want to do. In these times, we see, I feel very proud in saying that, like in the IPS, the number of women in 2000 or 2001 was 1 candidate in the IPS compared to around 80-90 males. And in my batch of 130 IPS officers of 2018, I feel very proud to say that it is 29. So obviously we have to do more. We have to reach that level where there is an equitable participation, and for that women also need to come forward to join services like the IAS, the IPS. And my wife is an IAS officer. Actually, she was going to come here, but she is out of town, so Rita madam requested me, and I told her that it is a women empowerment session and it is best to have guests who are women. But thank you for still calling me here. And again, to also summarize that women empowerment, if we talk about women empowerment, that has to be in all spheres. It has to be in the sphere, social sphere, it has to be in the family sphere, it has to be in the political sphere, in the educational sphere, in the cultural sphere. We see a lot of cultural practices still ongoing, prevailing, where women would feel that this is something which we do but men don't. And in the family sphere as well. Like, I feel so proud to say that still my father puts in more in kitchen than my mom. So that's something I learned from him as well. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Archit Chandakji. It is rightly said that women can empower enough. Women are empowered enough, and we would be liberated only by our own efforts. And women empowerment is needed in all spheres of life. Thank you very much. My next question will be to Professor Rutta Dharmadhikari. This is a similar kind of question, and this will be a round question to all the panelists. What according to you is women empowerment, and how do you perceive it?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks to NEERI for inviting all of us here to discuss on a topic which is, sometimes we think it has been overdone and
regurgitated too often, but then one realizes that it cannot be said enough, and as many number of times as we discuss the issue, this itself tells us something that we are not empowered as yet. If we are discussing this issue of what is empowerment and what is women empowerment, it means that we have still not achieved that. Empowering means somebody else is going to empower you, or one is going to empower oneself. And women's empowerment means, do women take that power which we already have within us, and do we take it and use it, or do we wait for somebody else to empower you? I feel power is very relative, and empowering someone or oneself is very crucial. I feel in our country we are really going at a very fast pace in the field of gender equality, gender equity as well. As Simone de Beauvoir said, one is not born a woman, one is made into a woman. And gender is a social construct. Biologically we are different, but humanistically we are the same. So nobody need be stopped from doing whatever one wants to do. Generationally as women, we have been stopped from doing what we wanted to do, say what we want to say, be who we want to be. All that is changing. A lot of women's movements and feminist movements and social movements have helped society along to understand that no longer does any person have to be less than anyone else. Especially the difference between men and women can be equalized as long as Bimla ma'am said, and that was the most crucial word, you need to have opportunities. The minute you have an opportunity, nobody is different from the other, nobody is less than the other. So if we start thinking rationally and not all the time emotionally, if we start thinking critically and not all the time oversensitively, if we start thinking that we can and we will, then we can do as well. So thinking about being empowered itself is the first step. I work in a women's college.
I will interrupt you. I'm sorry, Professor. I'll interrupt you because that's a very interesting context where you are talking about empowerment comes from self. But if I take the context of academic organizations and educational institutions, we all know that right from the beginning, and there are several examples, we have women dominating the space. We have most of the meritorious students actually coming from these women, the other half of the gender. But as you start moving ahead, you don't see actually not equal percentage of women going to the next level. So what is that limits them? What prevents them, and especially these women students, to get into strong career like male, the kind of support that they get, what actually prevents these women to actually rise in the similar way? Because the previous speaker also mentioned that the number is all actually rising very fast, but you can still not say that this number is sufficient that qualifies to say that the balance is now there, and we can say it's 50-50 participation. So what according to you limits that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about before you asked me the second question. I said I was going to say I am working in a women's college. Earlier I had, my own education has been not in an all women's college, it has been in a co-educational space. So one has had the opportunity of understanding another mindset than one's own. When you work in a mixed gender group, you become, I feel, more aware of different types of thought processes. When I came to work in the workspace, I found myself in an all-women workspace where even all the teachers are women, all the students are women. Suddenly there is a whole more scope to get your own viewpoints across, empower women who, or rather while educating them. I feel our college is doing playing a huge role in this capacity building and building of leadership qualities amongst women. Your question is why don't women reach the top, break the glass ceiling, shatter the glass ceiling? One is also their own mindsets. Second, social conditioning. Third, family conditioning. Are we really allowing our women do not we always say पहले शादी कर लो फिर बाद में देखा जाएगा, फिर शादी करने के बाद 2 बच्चे होने दो, फिर बाद में जो करना है वो करो. How many times do we say that, oh, even today, the families are concerned about if we have a daughter, our daughter should be well placed and happy. Everybody should be happy, of course, but we are more concerned whether our daughters will have a happy family to raise and nurture their own children. Will they be in the same kind of social construct as has been traditionally seen as good? Do we allow our women do we allow our girls to go forward to break that stereotype? How many stereotypes can we allow our own women to break? Maybe that ourselves, we are limiting our own selves. Whereas if you have so many young women, I mean, all these young scientists here, if you are not married right now at this day, today, how many of you are willing to give your life and career, live your life and all the rest of your years to your profession? How will you balance it out? So many a times societal pressures, the family situation, the way we are brought up restricts our own dreams or our own sense of achievement. Once we have that kind of self-worth and self-esteem, once we can be proud enough to break any kind of stereotype, then we can, I feel the sky is the limit. We need not limit ourselves.
Thank you so much. I think on that note that you highlighted, it's very important that why women are not reaching the space to break that glass ceiling. I have somebody representing a student. So I think that's very important. That's the right mix. So we have Rutuja, and my question is very same, because I also believe that we belong to different generations representing in this panel. So according to Rutuja, how do you perceive women empowerment? And similarly, you are into a different profession also. You are making a career in dance and performing arts, and that has a very different area where society has a different perspective about it. So where does women empowerment fits in your entire frame, and where does the idea crops in that as a woman you want to engage into the performing arts field?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone. I am super nervous. After hearing to all the stalwarts here, it feels like I've done nothing, which I haven't done nothing. I haven't done much. I'm very young, but women empowerment to me is getting up in the morning and having the confidence that I can sit here with all the panelists and speak in front of all of you. It is having the confidence that my parents are going to support me whether I have a good day or a bad day. It is looking at all the other halves of these dignitaries and knowing that what kind of a partner I would look for when I grow up. And I think to me it's like a exam question, trick question. Like no correct answer, but it's just not having any regrets at the end of the day when I take a choice, when I make a choice, when I make a decision. Not having to think as to what others will think of me and being bold enough to exhibit that choice. I think that is women empowerment to me. And going to the next part of your question, I have been learning dance since I was 4, and I'm 20 now, so it's 16 years of my life. So more than I am Rutuja Lonkar, I am more of a Nrityangana, which is my Instagram ID. I am more of a Bharatnatyam dancer than my own personality, and it is a very big part of me. And yes, dance, in societal constructs, dance has a very different perspective. And I don't think that is because our culture is like that. I think dance, in Indian cultural dance, classical dance, I think every dancer is a Devi. We have a Devdasi tradition when it comes to Bharatnatyam. It is thousands and thousand-year-old traditions which are going on. They are worshipped like goddesses. I think it is the British impact and the sexualization of women that has been happening on screen, on stage, which has led to that perspective being developed over the years. And from day one, my parents have always taught me that dance is an art, and dance to me is my way of spirituality, and making a career out of it feels like I'm making a home for somebody else. And my inspiration is my guru, Kala Shiromani Srimati Meera Chandrasekharan. I think she's always said this: every woman has the power to create, and if you can create another woman like you, you've won at life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rutuja. At your age, you have done a lot, I think. You rightly said that right to choose is one of the key drivers of women empowerment. We have a next panelist who is Mrs. Pushpa Wagmare. She is a social worker and she has done a lot of work for education and skill development for women. Since you bring a social perspective, my next question addressed to you is, do you think that education brings social stigma and limits women to make complaints? And what, according to you, is women empowerment? And how do you perceive it?
Thank you so much. It's such a great honor for me to be here. And thank you for inviting me to this panel. Hearing so many people, I have been inspired greatly, even more, ma'am, from all of you. And I would like to speak from my direct experience with the work that I have done in the last 32 years. My background is education, psychology, counseling, and then I entered into social work with all what I was doing. I saw 300 children of one slum out of school. This was in the year 92. Then I saw women committing suicide, women dying of curable diseases. I saw women being exploited by the husbands, and women going to work, women coming back, giving birth to the children. After birth, the very second day, going to work. Then their children at home, in the swing, totally lying neglected. I saw this world. When I saw this world, it touched my heart, because we all are speaking about a holistic being as a woman. A woman, when she sees another woman suffer, a child suffer, she can't keep quiet. I just quit my job and I went into this world. And I found that this was the most beautiful world where I could have been. And when I entered, I didn't know, I was not a social worker. I was not trained to be social worker. But there I found some students from Tirupudi College. And they said, ma'am, the professors and students, they said, ma'am, you need to register. I continued to work for 8 years before we registered an NGO, but I didn't go there to register. I just wanted to share the grief and pain of women and children. And then later on, through them, I thought, yes, they said if you register, we will send our candidates to help you. As staff, they can come and assist you. I said, it's great, because I have quit my job. And I need more people to know what kind of world is there right in the center of our city, which is second capital of Maharashtra. Then after that, we identified some health needs. And somebody said, can we come and help? That is from the government. Immunization to the children. We opened our doors and we said, please come, immunize our children, because mortality rate at the time was very high. Then somebody else comes. We started a preschool there. We said education is a must. And we connected to the families. And we felt that woman belongs to a family. And the family needs to be involved in this. Children belong to the family. And they have a mother who is not literate. A mother who is not aware of health needs, of how she should run her family. And the family and the woman has a man behind her, who's not sensitive to her needs, who's not sensitive to her emotions. And so they came forward. We started partnering. Then when we encountered the problem of HIV, and we didn't know where to look, and then we had partnership with Government Medical College, IGMC, and we got ourselves trained. Some more people joined, volunteered, and we were a larger team, and we did that. Just one story. I would like to say. There is a child whose mother was HIV positive, parents were positive. She was 7 years old and she was in our preschool. And the mother at the time of dying, she told me, Auntie, they call me Auntie, Auntie, मेरे बच्चों को रास्ते पे भीख मांगने के लिए जाने मत देना. मैं नहीं रहूँगी, इनके पिताजी नहीं रहेंगे. I was touched. I saw that lady passing away in front of my eyes. I had seen their whole life. I can tell a long story. To cut it short, this child, we put her into a good school. And we said, by then we had registered as an NGO. And we put her into good schools. We partnered with good institutions, educational institutions for our children. And we educated her. She did her 12th. She passed in first division. Then she came to us in our organization and said, Auntie, I want to work with you in this organization. I took her name and I said, Beta, you have done your 12th in first division. Can't you go advanced? Can't you go for higher studies? She said, कौन हमको support करेगा? We said, हम करेंगे. आगे बढ़ना है. बहुत खुश हो गई. हाँ, फिर उसने मुझको, छोटी थी तब उसने बोला था, मेरी माँ जब HIV में बीमार पड़ी हुई थी, उनको संभालने वाला कोई नहीं था. शायद वो ठीक हो सकती थी, थोड़े और साल रह सकती थी, मैं नर्स बनूंगी. That was her desire when her mother passed away. And then I said, didn't you say that you wanted to become a nurse? She said, how can I do that? It costs so much. I don't have anybody to support me. I said, we will support you. We will get support. And she was a tribal girl. We, with blindly, in faith, we took her to for nursing training in Padhar Hospital. She was admitted. We paid her paid the first fees. We didn't know where the next would come from, but we believe because we are connected to God. Somebody said that our hearts are connected to God, and we said we will pray. God is the one who is the provider of all women. Then comes the family and the society and the rest. Then we believed that the next lot will come. She started her studies. And then I said, Tribal Welfare Department has got support. So then we asked them to apply to Tribal Welfare Department. They supported her 4 years of nursing training. So this is the partnership that we can have with the government, with the facilities available, and the involvement of civil society is so important. We and you and our hearts and our lives should be connected to women, because we are not only because we are women, we are family people.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's very important.
I think that's a very, very important insight that you have brought in. I think in this discussion, we were talking about why men are in this panel, and we have the answers why men need to be more in this panel than women in this panel. So that was one of the most important reasons to have men. And the second thing that you brought in this discussion, because women naturally have been gifted with something, that's empathy, that's sensitivity, and that is what your example signified here. And awareness about women issues, because we still think that there is still a lot of mainstreaming acknowledgement needed by other half of the society to understand what women empowerment is. And you also brought in a very important issue of education. I think without education, empowerment cannot happen. So that's very important. And now I'll take you to the next panelist, who comes from a little rural context, and that's where a larger women population is also residing in the country. हमारे साथ हैं श्री प्रेम धोने जी. और प्रेम धोने जी, मुझे नहीं पता कि आपने कितना ये दूसरी भाषा का कंटेक्स्ट समझा, पर मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एक कंटेक्स्ट काफ़ी क्लियर है कि शिक्षा ही एम्पावरमेंट है, अपने को जानना ही एम्पावरमेंट है. सुबह मैडम ने भी बोला, हम सभी को अपने एवरेस्ट पहले जीतने हैं, उससे पहले एवरेस्ट पे चढ़ना है. तो मेरा एक क्वेश्चन जो सभी के साथ प्रश्न रहा है, वो प्रश्न आपके साथ भी रहेगा कि एक रूरल जो आपका ग्रामीण परिप्रेक्ष्य है, उसमें महिलाओं के लिए महिला सशक्तिकरण का क्या मायने हैं, और दूसरा ये कि उस सेटअप में जो पुरुष हैं वो कैसे महिला सशक्तिकरण को देखते हैं। क्योंकि जो क्वेश्चन मेरा मैडम के साथ था कि महिलाएं बहुत कम लेवल से अच्छी एजुकेशन में पार्टनरशिप दिखाती हैं, पर धीरे धीरे वो नंबर कम होते जाते हैं, और अगर आप ग्रामीण परिप्रेक्ष्य में देखें तो ये नंबर और तेज़ी से नीचे घटते हैं। अर्ली जो मैरिजेस हैं और बहुत सारे दूसरे कारण हैं, उनको घर के काम करने पड़ते हैं। तो एक ये हम आपसे जानना चाहेंगे, और एक बहुत छोटे संक्षेप में अगर आप हमको एक कोई एम्पावरमेंट की छोटी सी केस स्टडी अगर शेयर कर सकें 2-3 मिनट में, ये बहुत कम टाइम है, हम इससे लाभान्वित होंगे।
सबसे पहले मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ, यहाँ मुझे बुलाया है। और जो वुमन के बारे में, ग्रामीण के, मेरा गांव जो है वो एकदम फैक्ट्री गांव है और बहुत नज़दीक है, यानी नागपुर को लग के है। तो इसलिए वहाँ कुछ ऐसा कोई ये नहीं है कि जैसा नागपुर में वैसा ही हमारे नज़दीक है। लेकिन आप थोड़ा ज़्यादा इंटीरियर जाओगे तो वहाँ महिलाओं पे कुछ कुछ बातें, जैसे महिलाएं जो घर में रहना चाहिए, ज़्यादा इंटीरियर जाओगे तो, जैसा 50-60 किलोमीटर आगे जाओगे तो घर में रहना चाहिए, घर के काम करना चाहिए। तो यहाँ तक ही उनको सीमित रखा जाता है। और जैसा नज़दीक नागपुर से शहर से जो हमारा जो गांव है लक्के, वहाँ पे ऐसा कोई नहीं है कि महिला के लिए बहुत सारे, जैसा मैं जब 2007 से 12 तक सरपंच था तो मैंने महिलाओं के लिए बहुत सारे सशक्तिकरण के लिए, जैसे सिलाई मशीन कोर्स है, महिलाओं को स्कूल में लड़कियों को कराटे सिखाना, ये सब चीज़ें मैंने किया हूँ। और मैंने 2010-11 में राष्ट्रपति अवार्ड भी मुझे मिला हुआ है। और ये कार्य करते रहता हूँ। मैं उसके पहले सदस्य भी था, उसके बाद भी सदस्य था, और ये सब कार्य करते रहता हूँ।
धन्यवाद प्रेम धोने जी। महिलाओं के सशक्तिकरण के लिए आपने जो कदम उठाए हैं वे काफ़ी सराहनीय हैं। मैं नेक्स्ट पैनलिस्ट इज मिस्टर विकास खुराना। ही इज़ फ्रॉम थिएटर फील्ड। Times are changing, but still there are not enough of favorable conditions and support of society. So my next question addressed to you is, how do you see stage as a medium for women empowerment, and what issues or challenges they face, and what according to you can improve this entire scenario, and do the women get centric or women-centric or lead roles, and do they get equal payments? Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On a session on women empowerment, I wish there were more men in the audience. But nonetheless, to answer your question, I think theatre, or for that matter even the performing arts, have always been in the forefront, not only to address the issue of women empowerment, but they've always been on the forefront to address all kinds of social, economic issues as well. In fact, if we go back maybe 300-400 years ago, in times of the Elizabethan era, during Shakespeare's time, it was illegal for women to act. So there were men who used to do women's roles. However, Shakespeare by nature was a very strong proponent of women equality. In fact, the best roles that have been written in all of Shakespeare's plays are of women, whether it be Lady Macbeth or Rosalind, even Juliet for that matter. So they've been very, very strong characters as far as Shakespeare is concerned. So from those beginnings 3-4 centuries ago, even till today, there is theatre everywhere, down to the grassroots level, from your nukkad nataks to all platform performances, essentially, where several social causes, including women empowerment, has been addressed. However, the problem is not within the theatre or the performing arts fraternity in general, but essentially at the level where women, apart from the fact that they need more economic and financial awareness, freedom, to be able to make their own decisions, I think what is also more important is cultural independence. Now, I am reminded of an incident which happened about 10-12 years ago, where a Friends theatre group in Bombay, based on E. Wenzler's famous book called The Vagina Monologues, where it really spoke about the different issues, problems of women all over the world. They put up a show in Madras where everyone boycotted that show. And there were morchas outside the auditorium, and guess what? A majority of them were women. So I'm just saying is that somewhere we need that kind of awareness to reach out to women of all strata, all society. And somewhere, like I said, there has to be a cultural awareness apart from financial independence as well.
Mr. Vikash Khurana ji, it is good to know that gender is not the issue in theatre field. The key takeaway point from your discussion is cultural independence of women. I think the main culprit behind the decline of our stature today is in me, and it's a woman who has always preferred to lean back and live in the shadow of others rather than struggling for her own existence. And we would be liberated only by our own efforts. My next panelist is Mrs. Lata Singh. मैडम, आप भी क्योंकि मिसेस पुष्पा वाघमेर जी के साथ काम करती हैं, तो मेरा क्वेश्चन है आपके लिए कि महिलाओं की आज की कंडीशन को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए आपके हिसाब से क्या कदम उठाए जाने चाहिए, एंड आपके हिसाब से वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट के क्या मायने हैं?
नमस्कार सभी को। सबसे पहले मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी कि इतना सुंदर मंच हमें आपने दिया कि हम अपनी बात प्रस्तुत कर सकें। जैसे कि मैडम ने कहा कि जो महिलाएं हैं वो और आगे कैसे कर सके, तो हम जिस एरिया में कम्युनिटी वर्कर करके हम काम करते थे और स्लम्स एरिया में ज़्यादातर काम करते थे, तो हमने देखा कि महिलाओं को आगे बढ़ने के लिए शिक्षा की कमी ये रहती थी, और उस क्षेत्र में हमने ज़्यादा प्रयत्न किया कि लड़कियां कैसे आगे बढ़ सकती हैं, क्योंकि हमने देखा कि जो स्लम्स एरिया है वहाँ पर पढ़ाई का उतना अवेयरनेस नहीं रहता है, और लड़कियों को तो और कम रहता है क्योंकि उनको फैमिली में देख रेख करना रहता है अपने छोटे भाई बहनों को। तो हमने प्रयत्न किया कि और इन स्लम्स एरिया गरीब बच्चों के लिए बहुत सारी स्कीम्स जो है गवर्नमेंट चलाती है, जैसे कि गर्ल्स के लिए मुफ्त शिक्षा, स्कॉलरशिप और कन्याओं को बढ़ाने के लिए और आगे की स्कीम्स रहती है, पर ये इन तक पहुंच नहीं पाती। तो हमारे जरिए जो सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता है वो उन तक पहुंच करके उनमें एक अवेयरनेस लेके आए हमने और उन बच्चों को जो कि स्कूल नहीं जा रहे थे उनके पेरेंट्स से बात करके कि लड़कियों का एजुकेशन भी उतना ही इम्पॉर्टेंट है जितना बाकी बच्चों का है, और हमने उन्हें स्कूल्स में डाला। और पहले तो हमारी खुद की बालवाड़ियाँ चलती थी स्लम्स एरिया में, और वहाँ पर हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया कि कुछ बच्चे बहुत ही बुद्धिशाली है और तेज है, लेकिन उनको वैसा वातावरण नहीं मिल पाता। तो हमने अपना एक छोटा सा हॉस्टल भी शुरू किया जहाँ पर हम उनको अच्छी सिक्योरिटी दे सके और अच्छा वातावरण दे सके, और उन्हें अच्छे स्कूल्स में हमने डाला। और हमने देखा कि वहाँ के टीचर्स और प्रिंसिपल्स के सपोर्ट से वो बच्चे बहुत आगे गए। मैं एक बच्ची का उदाहरण देना चाहूँगी। हमारे स्लम एरिया में एक लड़की थी जिसका नाम रिया है, रिया लांजेवार। तो वो पहले हमारी बालवाड़ी में आती थी। फिर हमने उसे देखा कि वो बहुत टैलेंटेड है और अच्छे से तेज बुद्धि की है, तो हमने उसे प्रोविडेंस स्कूल में डाला और इतनी अच्छे से उसने पढ़ाई किया और आगे हमने उसको गाइड करते रहे। और उसके बाद में उसने होटल मैनेजमेंट का कोर्स किया और वहाँ पे उसने टॉप किया। और उसको करने के बाद में जब उसका कोर्स कंप्लीट हुआ, उसने आज वो बेंगलोर के एक होटल मैनेजमेंट स्कूल में बच्चों को पढ़ाती है। तो इस तरीके से हम बच्चों को अगर सही छोटा सा अपना गाइडेंस दे, सहयोग करें, तो वो बहुत आगे जा सकते हैं। और महिलाएं अगर सशक्त होगी तो उनका वो दूसरी महिलाओं को भी सशक्त कर सकती है और उनका एक रोल मॉडल बाकी लड़कियों के लिए हो सकता है।
थैंक यू लता जी, आपने बहुत बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट जो अभी कुछ शब्द बोले कि एक एम्पावर्ड महिला ही दूसरी महिला को एम्पावर्ड कर सकती है। वो एक बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है जो भी हम अभी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि नीरी जैसा संस्थान एनवायरनमेंट के क्षेत्र में काम करता है। बहुत सारी यहाँ पे महिला वैज्ञानिक भी काम करती हैं। तो जिस तरीके से वो अपने स्टूडेंट्स को, रिसर्चर्स को सहयोग देती हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि एक वो नेक्स्ट स्टेप है एम्पावरमेंट और ग्लास सीलिंग को भी ब्रेक करने के लिए, ट्रेनिंग द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन ऑफ लीडर्स। और एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो मुझे अभी याद आई और हम सुबह डिस्कस कर रहे थे, वो ये था कि जब नीरी को सिफेरी से नीरी करना था तो वो नाम भी एक महिला की तरफ से आया था। हमारी प्राइम मिनिस्टर मिसेस इंदिरा गांधी हुआ सो विजनरी। एंड इफ़ यू सी द एनवायरनमेंट एज ए वर्ड इटसेल्फ, अगर इंडिया ने इन्वायरमेंट के बारे में सोचना शुरू किया तो वो शायद ज़्यादा स्ट्रांगली मिसेस गांधी के टाइम से ही शुरू हुआ। जब वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट आया, टाइगर कंजर्वेशन के काम शुरू हुए, तो एक महिला का बहुत बड़ा रोल है एटलीस्ट इन्वायरमेंट और इंडिया में। मैं इस मोनोलॉग को 2 मिनटों ये मॉडरेटर्स के बीच में नहीं रखना चाहती, क्योंकि हमारे साथ हैं बहुत सारी महिलाएं जो नीरी से हैं, नीरी के बाहर से हैं, स्टूडेंट, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, साइंटिफिक और टेक्निकल स्टाफ को यहाँ रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हैं, और साथ में बहुत सारे हमारे मेल कोलीग्स हैं जिनके साथ हम साथ में काम करते हैं। तो मैं चाहूँगी कि ये पैनल अब थोड़ा ब्रॉड बन जाए और हम इसको ऑडियंस के लिए खोल दें। अगर आपके पास कोई ऐसा प्रश्न है जो आपकी जिज्ञासा को ये हमारे पैनलिस्ट शांत कर सकते हैं, तो मैं आपसे अनुरोध करती हूँ, प्लीज़ 1-2 क्वेश्चन तो ज़रूर पूछें। You never get this opportunity to meet such diverse stakeholders and ask your questions, so don't hesitate in asking. सर अपना नाम भी बताएं ताकि हमको भी पता चल सके।
I am an ex-scientist of NEERI, but I have a question to Mr. Vikash Khurana. Very vital and very important. His observation was that it is not the society or the males who are dominating, but it is the woman herself. What is her aspiration? So I'd like further enlightenment for that.
Aspirations towards the performing arts.
The general life in general.
Well, honestly, in the fraternity, I think the women that I have met or interacted with them are essentially not very different from their male counterparts. Everyone has the same aspirations and ambitions, and I think they all are on a very equal footing, an equal platform. In fact, I am often surprised, not really surprised, but the women are far more sensitive performers than what the men are. In fact, they have a far greater repertoire of emotions than men that could possibly have. Now, whether it's an inherent genetic quality about them, but yes, I always believe that women make far better performers than men do. Yes.
There is another question.
My question is to
Please also
sir.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Meha Sharma from Lokmat Times. So there is a huge ego clash between men and women, especially when you are in a field like IPS, police service. So, sir, does a junior employee, police officer, it is difficult for him to take orders from a senior DCP? Is it how is that ego clash is there? Do you find it difficult in that environment all the more because it is all about defending? I don't know what the ego is like there. Is it similar to in other fields or is it different there?
What your question is a very vital one, and so this used to happen earlier. I mean, not in the police force, in all walks of life, where men usually were hesitant or not. They didn't want to take orders from a female, since the situation in family or in their homes was vice versa. But I will be very glad to say that the training which we receive, the training which is imparted to the IPS officers and for all police officers and constables as well, it is designed and structured in such a way in today's times that there is, anyway, police is a very hierarchical system. So anyway, the ranks do matter a lot. So I myself, my joint CP at present is a lady officer, very senior lady officer. We don't feel any ego clashes as such. It doesn't even come to our minds. And also there are many senior there are DCPs who are women, and they also don't feel at present this thing, because I have in fact talked with them regarding this. But yes, there are some instances where you can feel that, the 86% of our police force is constabulary, and in that also the women force is less than 30%. So sometimes it becomes a fact that when you're leading the force on the ground, you will see men, a lot of men, and only seniors who are women, and majority of them are men. So that sometimes becomes an issue for them, in the sense that they feel surrounded by men in a sense. But the police force is such a force that the training which we receive and the kind of work we do, this is not a hindrance to anybody. Secondly, since you have asked this question, I just want to say one point to all the women sitting here, that Vikas Khuranaji said a very important point, that he saw women protesting against something which was for women empowerment, something of that sort. So I request everybody to come forward and lodge cases. You should be aware not about just your legal rights, but also about not just about your educational rights, but about your legal rights. That section 154 CRPC, it is your bounden duty or right to come forward and register the FIRs. What I see, like when I was in my training, we handle a police station. So many women used to come. It felt like it is a marriage cell. It is a marriage cell to me. The SHO's chamber, many women used to come कि साहब तो मला मारता, तो ऐसा करता, मेरा हस्बैंड ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है, एंड देन वी शुड कि ठीक है हम केस रजिस्टर करते हैं. नहीं सर आप कुछ केस वेस मत करिए, उसको आके थोड़ा धमकी दे दीजिए. सो द थिंग इज कि वो दे रिपीटेडली फेस दिस, बट ऑब्वियसली एक फैमिली होती है, सो नोबडी वांट्स टू ब्रेक ऑफ अ फैमिली लाइक दैट. बट द थिंग आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल इज कि this thing in them, in many women, to not register cases. इतने बार होता है कि बॉयफ्रेंड इज सेक्सुअली हरासिंग और स्टॉकिंग, बट केस नहीं करना है क्योंकि ये प्रीवियस रिलेशनशिप है. they don't want things to get sore, और they feel कि अरे केस करेंगे तो कहाँ इसके पछड़े में पड़ेंगे, पुलिस केस में पड़ेंगे, कौन कोर्ट तक जाएगा. सो द थिंग इज कि because if you feel somebody is stalking you, like I hope all the audience knows that stalking is an offense in India, and even in fact cyber stalking is also an offense. So the thing I want to say is कि अगर आप केस नहीं करेंगे, that particular person he feels a kind of empowerment, अलग से empowerment कि यार मेरे को कुछ नहीं हो सकता. That kind of impunity comes to him कि यार पुलिस तो पकड़ेगी नहीं क्योंकि केस भी नहीं आ रहा है. So taking this opportunity to request everyone to come forward to know about your legal rights. In fact, it is your right to be investigated or to be heard by a woman police officer. It is your right to tell to the police station officer that 6:30 बज गए हैं, अब I will not be here. Even if you are a murder accused, even if a woman is a murder accused, she has a right to not stay in the police station after 6:30 p.m. I mean after sunset. This is the kind of laws which we have, but we need dissemination and we need more of it, more of execution in practicality, in real, and that will come from you. Till you don't press forward, nobody will tell you, अरे आप 6:30 बजे आप जाइए, ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. So that is just my 2 cents.
I think that's a very important point that you have made, sir. And on that point, because we had some discussion and planning when we were setting up this panel, I have my other question to Pushpa Wagmare ji, because she is a social worker and she understands that there are a lot of women in society who actually don't want to file a complaint. So sir has already mentioned that maybe not breaking a family might be one of the concerns, but what do you think other constraining conditions that actually limit a woman, a female, to file a case against a person, a male who is hurting or creating some kind of issue or problem to her?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, we have seen through our experience that women are dominated by men. And normally the people that are persecuting or harassing or abusing them are people from their own families also or neighborhood. And this is, I'm talking about the communities, when they, slum communities, villages and other places. And women, as we all understand, they have their dignity. They have their respect. They don't want to lose it. The fear of losing their respect and dignity and acceptance and identity keeps them behind. Now, when I see a lady and I'm watching that she needs to go to the police station or report the matter to the police and bring it to the forefront so that she is delivered from this bondage, and she delivers others also from this bondage by doing it because she is taking the first step courageously. So what we have done in our experience, we have seen many murders with our own eyes. We have seen abuse with our own eyes. We have drawn, we have talked to men, not only talked, we have taken them to, along with the lady, we have gone to the police station. Because we need to give them that support that come, we will help you, you will be safe. Our systems, they don't know how they work. They are scared. So we have taken quite a few of our women for support. And we have delivered them. And we have seen that there has been rehabilitation in many of the families because we have journeyed with them. It's not that once we have done it, we have lived with them. It's 32 years that we have centers in these communities and we have developed families, and women just reach out to us and we reach out to the people, to the system so that
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very important point that you have mentioned. Though this discussion is really going very exciting and interesting, but we have very limited time and one of our guests is leaving. So we'll just like to present a sapling and memento, and I'll request our senior most scientist, our director, sir, to present this sapling. And Sadhana ma'am to present the memento. Thank you, sir, for your kind presence. Thank you so much for your presence. That really helped us, and I'm sure at least for legal rights, our women are empowered, and I'm sure many of those sitting here will take this knowledge forward. Thank you again. And as you know that this discussion can go for next half a day and maybe a week itself, because it's such a crucial topic, and it will require a lot of complex understanding what goes in the complex psychologies, social transformations and requirement in education that can bring that thinking shift. The thinking shift is, mindset shift is very much required. Thank you for giving me that right word. That will be very much required. We are already ahead of more than an hour, and we have more upcoming programs in this 1 week, one lab. So I'll just quickly summarize what has been discussed. I think we started from Mr. Chandak, and he talked about women empowerment starting from women itself. So that's a major thing. So when we see women around us, make sure that they're empowered, they're given opportunity, and that's responsibility of all of us. Madam, thank you for highlighting empowerment that starts from self. It's nobody else going to give us that empowerment. We have to ourselves recognize, acknowledge, and mainstream in the society to bring that change. India is going in a very faster gender, and we're covering up that gender disbalance that was existing. You talked about capacity building, you talked about social seasoning, cultural setups, and also you talked about breaking the gender stereotypes. I think that's very important thing, and now being taught in school also. So that's very important and insightful thing. Then Rutuja talks about the support she expects from her parents, and that her parents have been really supportful of her choices. Partners, she will be looking in the future who will always support. We have clear examples sitting here. We don't need to go far for that. And the choices should be no regret choices. The choices that we are making are going to empower our country anyway. So that choice is important. The decision is important. And I think a leader's quality is to generate next generation of leaders. So you touched on that as well. So thank you for that. Pushpaji touched upon bringing examples of empathy, sensitivity, education, awareness that are going to change this mindset. And Prem Dhoniji talked about livelihood opportunities, alternative livelihood opportunities for women in rural areas, because rural areas are where are marginalized and more population of women who don't see this outer world many a times. So their education, livelihood, and alternative livelihood can really help, and government has a lot of schemes for that. Vikasji appropriately talked about economic and financial awareness that will give next level, and most of the women who are sitting here have a large amount of that financial independence that makes them empowered and makes the one of the decision, having that decision making power. Then cultural awareness, most important, and reaching out to women at all stages, at all levels in society is another transformative change that needs to be brought up. Lataji talked about, again, education, free education, especially for marginalized women, and awareness of parents. You cannot make women educated and empowered unless and until parents are aware about that. So that's very important. Personality development, second important thing. And most importantly, not having panels where women are there just for the sake of a tokenistic approach. Women should be real partners in decision making. That will shift this entire way we look to women and we think of empowerment and equity in future. So thank you once again for this. I will now invite my co-moderator, Asha Chilani madam, if she has something that I missed out in this discussion and would like to formally give a vote of thanks.
Shalini, I think that was a good summary. On a lighter note, I would like to add that you all must have watched a movie on dinosaurs that was Jurassic Park. So where second hero, Jeff Goldblum, was saying that agar dinosaur सारे आदमियों को खा गया तो heroine Laura Dunn was saying कि औरतें राज करेगी. So, but we as a woman do not need that kind of privilege. But only I want to say is in our ancient book there is a one line. I am just giving the interpretation that the God rejoice where women are respected. Thank you very much. So I think this was a very interesting panel discussion, and I hope our audiences have formally enjoyed this discussion. Now comes the felicitation time. I request my colleague Shalini to announce the names, and please.
Our director sir is here, and we have also our senior most scientist here. So I'll first of all, I'll request our sir, but it's very important that men are also very much part of this. So I'll request both of you, and I'll first of all request our director sir to please felicitate Rutuja Lonkar madam. She's professor from LED College. Sorry. Rutuja. We can start from the youngest one. We can start from the youngest one.
हम लोग नीचे ही आ जाते हैं ना, बेटर है, ठीक है ना? I think that's more convenient.
Sadhana ma'am, you can join, sir. Apologies for a little bit confusion when you have such an interesting big panel. Thank you. We have to facilitate next panelist is Professor Ruta Dharmadhikari madam. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. We have Mrs. Pushpa Wagmare, who is a senior social worker for facilitation. I already announced your name. Okay, I'll read it now. Professor Ruta Dharmadhikari, madam. Thank you, madam, for sharing a lot of insights. We have Mr. Prem Dhone ji. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I welcome Mr. Vikas Khurana ji, Director Stagecraft Theatre, Nagpur, for the felicitation. I'm sorry, just next. Yeah, we should request madam also to felicitate Mrs. Lata Singh ji, Senior Social Worker from Nagpur. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am, and especially Director ma'am for being here, and that has been really made a lot of good set. The entire group of audience who have contributed to this discussion. I once again thank my panelists, and we hope that the next vote of thanks is to be taken care of by Paranjpe ma'am.
Very good afternoon. I know it is quite late, but I cannot leave you all without thanking our esteemed distinguished speakers, Mrs. Bimla Negi Deuskar, for delivering such an inspiring talk, and I am sure that most of our audience would want to hear her again for a long time. I am also thankful to Dr. Sadhana Railu for sharing her inspiring journey and inspiring the young women scientists in our institute. I would also like to thank the rock solid pillars behind these two women, Mr. Avinash Deuskar ji and Mr. Suresh Railu. I also thank Dr. Chandrasekhar for gracing this event. I was thrilled to hear about the various aspects of women empowerment in our panel discussion, and thankful to all the panelists, Mr. Archit Chandak, Ruta Dharmadhikari, Rutuja Lonkar, Pushpa Wagmare, Vikas Khurana, Prem Dhone, Mrs. Lata Singh. I would also like to extend my thanks to the press and media, the wonderful audience, Mr. Kave and his team, Mr. Anil Gote and his team, and Director NEERI for inspiring us to take up this session. And I cannot end my vote of thanks without thanking the team members, Dr. Sarvana Devi, Dr. Atya Kaple, Dr. Rita Dhodapkar, Dr. Shalini Dhyani, Debishri Khan, Asha Lalwani, Asifa Qureshi, Kavita Gandhi, Dr. Prashanti, Ramya Sanam, Anuj, Isha and Guneshwari. Thank you very much. And
DST secretary was so impressed by Madam Negi's presentation. So, and all of us were also very much impressed, and time was very short. So NEERI, I request you to again invite her for a longer duration and share her experiences. And not only that, DST secretary would like to call her to Delhi also for such programs. So thank you very much, and it's a really encouraging words from DST secretary. He specifically mentioned that. Thank you.
this session is concluded. Thank you, everybody.